that a great itchy and scratchy cartoon, kids? Well, we've got another one coming right up. But first, I got a hankering for some pork product. Look. Plump, succulent sausage, honey-smoked bacon, and glistening, sizzling... I'm dying.
All right. I guess that's how we're starting. So, we are up to episode 12 of 13 of Season 1 of The Simpsons, which brings us to the episode Krusty Gets Busted. This originally aired on April 29th, 1990, according to the book. And it is written by Jay Kogan and Wally Wolodarski, two guys that will be instrumental in the tone and the jokes that The Simpsons will tell and the screen writing that The Simpsons will start with. They would even say, of course, as we always say, that the writer's room writes the episode, but the script guys, they come up with the first thing. It is directed by Brad Bird. And I don't recall if we've talked about Brad Bird previously, so to give you a little bit of information about Brad Bird, because he is really a factor in the look of The Simpsons, and the animation of The Simpsons, up there with David Silverman, who directed all of these Simpsons episodes. Brad Bird, you may know as the director of The Iron Giant, The Incredibles 2, Ratatouille, Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Tomorrowland. He's helped develop a lot of stuff for Pixar. Basically a wunderkind, or was a wunderkind at this time. So he was born in Montana. His grandfather owned an oil company in Montana. And he was always into animation. And he got to tour Disneyland or Disney Studios when he was a kid, and kind of met one of like these old Disney guys named Milt Kahl, who's just one of these old people responsible for like Disney's birth. Basically, like Snow White and Seven Dwarfs and all of like these animation styles. But he basically became like this apprentice to Disney. Like the people at Disney thought that he was going to be like their ticket to the future. He was the future of animation.
Interesting. There you go.
He went to California Institute of Arts. When he went to college, he was awarded a scholarship by Disney to go there. Jeez. He met John Lasseter there. John Lasseter, we'll talk about him and his problematic ways, and also all the stuff that he made when we get to some of the Pixar stuff, because he co-founded it. And he also met Tim Burton there. So Brad Bird knew some people, right? And he worked on a lot of things for Disney in the 80s, but he ended up kind of moving on to do some other stuff. He worked on a show called Family Dog. I have no idea what this is.
Family Dog?
It sounds like something that would be a spin-off of Family Guy, like Brian's spin-off is going to be called Family Dog, but
yeah, right.
Apparently it's a thing.
All right.
But he joined Klasky Csupo, who was doing the animation for The Simpsons in their first few seasons, and he helped develop the shorts. He was considered a consultant. So he's this wonder of animation that was consulting on how to do animation for The Simpsons. And then, of course, he would do some things for The Critic and King of the Hill and Rugrats, and it all led to him doing The Iron Giant, which we'll add to the list and do one day, of course. But he directed this episode, Krusty Gets Busted. This episode also the first speaking role for Sideshow Bob, who is voiced by Kelsey Grammer. Fraser Crane is obviously the role that he's done. I wonder if he's done Sideshow Bob now longer than he did Fraser Crane. Because he did Fraser Crane on Cheers and Frasier for like 20 years. But like, Sideshow Bob has been here since season 1. So he's probably done that longer.
Probably, but it probably doesn't have quite as many episodes, maybe.
Oh, I would, yes. That is definitely true. That would have to be impossible. Because, I mean, he shows up once a season, maybe, for the first 8 seasons or so.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, he had 20 years of playing Fraser Crane.
Yeah, exactly.
So, this episode, Lisa... I almost called you Lisa. Rachel,
I'm Lisa now? Little Lisa.
What is the summary of Krusty Gets Busted?
Krusty the Clown gets convicted of armed
He is a
robbery.
Yeah.
Yes, he is a robber. What?
He is an armed robber and a clown.
Yes, Krusty the Clown
Well,
is a
true.
armed robbery oh my god, I can't talk today. Krusty the Clown is a clown and a robber, and he gets busted at the Quickie Mart and is sentenced to jail. And Bart and Lisa, they investigate this crime, and they don't believe that he did it, or, you know, there's something fishy about the whole thing, and we kind of get to see all the antics along the way.
It's our first episode where we get to see Bart and Lisa solving a problem.
Yes.
Which they go back to, they go down that road a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the first quote-unquote mystery of The Simpsons.
It
which
is.
is usually how they would do that with Sideshow Bob a few times, or at least try to like make it like, how is Sideshow Bob getting away with this, or stuff like that. So the gags to start the episode, the chalk gag is, they are laughing at me, not with me. Which is always true in my case. And the couch gag is, this is the one where they squeeze and Maggie gets popped up in the air and Marge catches her.
Yep. More popping and squeezing.
Popping and squeezing. Popping.
Kissing and hugging.
Yeah, whatever. Well, now we have to cut that out because we sung too many lines.
DMCA.
Maybe that's in the public domain. I don't know. So in the commentary, Brad Bird was quick to point out that each act in this starts with starts with a face. It's a close up of a face. So the first act starts with Krusty's face. The second act starts with Krusty's face behind bars, and the third act starts with Sideshow Bob's face. So the episode starts with Krusty's face, and it's more or less the introduction of how the Krusty Show works. Mm-hmm. And in these early years, the Krusty Show works like a clown's show for kids. It would be anything and everything as the show goes on, but it starts as a clown show. Krusty the Clown, also referenced in the commentary, is based on a clown that Matt Groening grew up watching. Like, it would be like different cities have local clowns.
Bozo the Clown.
Bozo the Clown, the most famous, obviously. What do you mean you don't know Bozo the Clown? What kind of a name is Eric for a clown? But in Portland, Oregon, it was Rusty Nails. So Rusty Nails was the clown, so Krusty, I guess,
that
is
sounds
based
creepy.
off of Rusty Nails.
Rusty Nails sounds like a creepy clown. Well, like in some horror movie.
Well, and apparently he was like a Christian clown. Like, he would talk Bible stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
But Brad Bird also knew this clown growing up in Montana because, you know, these clowns are regional, or they can be. So Rusty Nails. There you go. It starts with Krusty giving them his trademark, "Who do you love?"
Krusty!
How much do you love me?
With all our hearts!
And what do you do if I went off the air?
We'd kill ourselves!
And that
it's so awful. It's so awful.
But it's so funny that, like, and obviously another, like, how, like, he's programmed these kids to say this, you know, so that he has this security. So, you know, folks at home, same thing. If Shelf Life ever leaves, no. But,
who do you love? Shelf Life! How much do you love us?
So Bart and Lisa and Maggie are watching Krusty, and we get a couple of different Krusty the Clown segments. One of which is, it's somebody's birthday, and she gets to decide between getting a special birthday song from Krusty or seeing Sideshow Bob get shot out of a cannon. And it becomes clear that Sideshow Bob is not allowed to talk. He has to talk with his slide whistle.
Right.
And the kids,
I wish I had one. I would do it right now.
And the kids, of course, always pick shooting Sideshow Bob out of a cannon. Because why wouldn't you?
I mean, that is more exciting than Krusty
singing
with his lovely voice.
Hey!
Oh, that was good. That was very
Krusty
good.
Does have the hilarious... like, that's...
You're doing a good job. That's perfect.
That's my favorite, like, Krustyism, is when he just kind of groans.
Yes.
Played by Dan Castellaneta is Krusty the Clown. So the voice of Homer is the voice of Krusty. So he goes to shoot Bob out of the cannon. Bob, of course, doesn't really get shot out of the cannon as much as the cannon just kind of explodes. And then he just kind of
falls
on
out.
it.
Yeah.
So this is probably happening to him every single day.
Oh, I would imagine. Absolutely. They're going to want a kid's birthday every time.
And we also get the introduction of Itchy and Scratchy to the show. It was on the shorts, but the introduction to Itchy and Scratchy. Their theme song, written by Sam Simon, is as follows. They fight, they bite and fight and bite. Bite, bite, bite. Fight, fight, fight. The Itchy and Scratchy show.
I would.
Because it's a song.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why I said it like a poem.
I know. I remember when we were doing that with like all of the kids' stuff, like Roly Poly Oly. He's small and short and round. Yeah, but when you say it out loud, it sounds like you're rapping.
He's Roly Poly Oly. He's small and short and round.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's great. That one's my favorite. To say that
Roly-
one out loud, because it just
Roly
sounds
Poly
like...
Oly.
Yeah, because it sounds like a rap. It makes it really cool. I kind of want somebody to take it and turn it into a rap.
Take the Roly Poly Oly theme and rap it.
Yes.
There you go. There you go, kids. There's your challenge. As laid out on Shelf Life. Turn Roly Poly Oly's theme song into a rap. In this episode of Itchy and Scratchy, Itchy lights Scratchy on fire. That's all I kind of got out of it. It was a pretty simplistic episode of Itchy and Scratchy. It was the first one. Marge walks in and is kind of upset that they're watching such bad cartoons. And we get a meta moment because Lisa says if cartoons were meant for adults, they'd be on in prime time, which, of course, is The Simpsons. On prime time.
Exactly.
So they continue to watch the show. Marge goes and calls Homer at work to tell him to stop at the Quickie Mart, bring home some ice cream because Patty and Selma are coming over. I wrote down, it's funny to be the old style. What the fuck did I mean by that?
I have no idea. What does that
funny
mean?
To be the old style.
The old... Oh, because maybe the old style of Sam... The old style, like the cartoon, the look of it?
No, I think I know what I'm getting at. Anyway... We get Patty and Selma coming over, and they bring over this old projector, and that, I think, is what I meant by this old style. It's like a projector with like a click button.
Oh my god, yeah.
Literally,
that's fun.
You would click it to...
Go to the next slide.
Yeah, go to the
next
slide.
picture.
It's a literal slideshow.
Mm-hmm.
So they came over to show them slideshows from their trip to Mexico. So that's established there. In the meantime... Homer is going to the Quickie Mart, and he is looking for some chocolate. So he finds chocolate, double chocolate, triple chocolate. And even in the commentary, Matt Groening says, like, the triple chocolate was supposed to be a joke, but, like, triple chocolate's a thing now.
And it's
like,
delicious.
Yeah. But it just goes to show, like, how ridiculous we get. That's a joke in the Simpsons world.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid, like, triple chocolate. Like, what's the difference? But, like, now it's like, yeah, triple chocolate's a thing.
Oh, it's like the best, though, too. Because it's like you put 3 different types of chocolate into a thing.
Is that what it means?
Typically.
I thought they just tripled
the ice cream's chocolate, then there's, like, chocolate chunks in there, and then it's got, like the chocolate pieces, and... So triple chocolate.
What's the difference between a chocolate chunk and a chocolate piece?
I would imagine that it's like a different. Well, okay. So we get the Moose Tracks, and the Moose Tracks has the chocolate buttercups, right? But we get the chocolate Moose Tracks, so the ice cream is also chocolate. But then there's also chocolate, thick pieces of chocolate in it. It's not just like mixed in all the way. So you get like nice chunks of chocolate, and then you get the chocolate peanut butter cup, and then you get the chocolate ice cream, triple chocolate.
It's a chocolate ice cream. It's chocolatastic, is what it is. It's one of the main food groups. Chocolatastic. From the episode where Homer gets really fat.
Oh, jeez.
Which will be a main event.
Oh, yeah. Is that the Moo Moo one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to look like a weirdo.
Give me the Moo Moo.
I do appreciate you breaking down the chocolate, though. That was essential for me. Because... I really didn't know.
At least that's how I see it. Hey, I might be wrong, but that's how I always see triple chocolate. It usually means that there's a lot of chocolate in it, yes, but usually it's kind of like pieces of chocolate as well. It's just wonderful.
So Homer takes the triple chocolate. Not even a so anyway on that one. So Homer takes the triple chocolate to the counter, and Apu tells him that he looks more downtrodden than usual. Mm-hmm. And that's because, and Homer tells him, well, that's because my sisters-in-law are coming over. Or as he calls them, the gruesome twosome. In the meantime, while he's doing this, you see Krusty is there. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And he's got a bandit mask on.
Yes, it's a blatant bandit mask, yes.
Well, I mean, it could be the Lone Ranger, the Winter Soldier.
I suppose, yes, it's very Winter Soldiery, you're right, yes. Krusty the Clown as the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, there you go. He doesn't really... I was going to do a Winter Soldier line.
He doesn't really talk much.
With the Krusty voice, but he doesn't have a lot of lines. Don't... Don't do anything stupid while I'm gone. Hey! You're taking all the stupid with you. Okay. But he's heating up a burrito in the using the Quickie Mart microwave, and then he's reading a magazine while you're seeing this. But then, as Homer and Apu are talking, Homer turns around and steps on Krusty's foot. And like the edge of Krusty's foot.
Like the clown shoes, because you got to remember he's wearing clown shoes that are long.
Yeah, he's dressed up as his clown persona, because as we will find out in future episodes, Krusty never takes the clown outfit off.
Ever.
I think he does that because he likes getting recognized.
Absolutely.
He likes to get like free stuff.
Oh, yeah.
For being Krusty the Clown.
Without a doubt.
But he steps in, and Krusty says, ow, he says... And I don't think I have it written down, but I will paraphrase it. He says, ow, you lousy, stupid, clumsy. And then Homer says, like, oh, sorry there, pal, but realizes that Krusty also has a gun.
Yep.
With him. And Homer, and you probably have to look this up online because it is a great piece of animation. There's a few of those in this episode where he dives into a display of potato chips to hide because Homer is a coward. In Homer's defense, I'd do the exact same thing. If I could dive into potato chips.
It's the fight or flight syndrome.
Or as I call them, the gruesome twosome.
Ow, my foot, you lousy, stupid, clumsy.
Sorry, pal.
Hand over all your money in a paper bag.
Yes, I know the procedure for armed robbery. I do work in a convenience store, you know. You can emerge now from my chips. The opportunity to prove yourself a hero is long gone.
So as Krusty takes the money and flees, Apu then says to Homer, you can emerge now from my chips. The opportunity to prove yourself a hero is long gone. So just a great little sequence there, but we get the start of like Krusty robbed the Quickie Mart. It seems like such an odd act that he would rob the Quickie Mart. So then what happens, Homer is basically getting interviewed by the police from the Quickie Mart because he's asking to make a sketch because he saw him.
Right.
And so he tells the sketch artist everything, and he says, like, wait a minute, I know that guy. He's from TV. He's my kid's hero. It's Krusty the Clown, and he names Krusty.
Right.
So Homer fingers Krusty. They decide that they have to go arrest Krusty. So we get a little bit of Krusty at home. He's making himself a drink. He sprays the little seltzer bottle.
Yeah, like the clown seltzer bottle.
Yeah, which is obviously supposed to be a joke.
Because he's just always a clown.
Right. And then the door is knocked down by the police and they arrest him. They, like, step on his face and everything,
yeah.
Which, as we know now, is standard police procedure, of course.
Oh, might have to take that one out.
I'm saying it satirically, but yes,
I know.
you can take that one out. They basically tell him that he's been arrested. So now we get this criminal Krusty, which he is then put into a lineup, and they ask Homer to point him out of a lineup.
A lineup of clowns, mind you.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, this part's great, because Homer is looking at the clowns, and he can't stop laughing. and he says, well, if the crime is making me laugh, they're all guilty. And they're all just standing there, and they look so like they're all sad clowns because they're in this lineup.
Right.
And Chief Wiggum is there, and he isn't quite stupid yet. Like, he's still just a functioning cop. So he yells at Homer for not doing what he's supposed to do because he just keeps chuckling to himself. But then he does point out, and he does finger Krusty in the lineup. And he fingers him later, too. Not literally. Well,
Oh,
well,
God,
literally,
Kevin.
not literally.
Ew.
Well, I kept saying it. I had to make that reference. Which is like, but did you though?
You
Did you
didn't.
really
You didn't.
need to make that reference? Meanwhile, we get the family going through the slideshow, and it's like supposed to be this boring slideshow where my favorite being, this is a Mexican delicacy known as a taco platter. And so they're boring the family.
Oh, absolutely.
They have pictures of them they have a picture of their mailbox when they get back of all the mail stuff, and they have a picture of them dropping off the film to be developed. And
it's hilarious. How do you have that? How do they have a picture of them dropping the film off that's in the camera that...
Well, so they must have taken a picture with another roll.
Oh, no, I assume. I'm just joking.
I don't know why they added that to the...
It's very meta.
To the strip show, but yeah.
The strip show?
What's it called? Slideshow.
Slideshow.
Whatever.
I hope Patty and Selma aren't doing a strip show.
Alright, but I could see that being a joke, too, because they always have the hairy legs.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You know what it reminded me of? And this is like an anecdotal thing of our past. We still make fun of our dad to this day.
Oh, to this day.
He would take, back in the day, because he had his camcorder, he would get up early in the morning, like while we were on like family vacations, and he would just walk around the area that we were like
either
on a
the
vacation
hotel
for.
or yeah,
and like or like a cruise ship or like whatever, and he wouldn't say anything.
He was taking B-roll at this point. I mean, he would say nothing.
It would just be like 10 minutes of him walking around the area. And it was all in a bid to, like, when our grandparents would come over to show them this, and he would just, like, narrate it to the, like, we were the Patty, like, because of Dad, we were the Patty and Selma.
Oh, it's true.
Because it was just a film reel of just nothing. Because he wouldn't say anything. He had no commentary.
Oh, it was great. And now I take 1,000 pictures anywhere I go, so...
Yeah, you basically are Patty and Selma now.
Shut up. I don't make you look at all of them.
Whenever the pandemic ends and you go on vacation,
I can't wait.
Take a picture of a taco platter so that we can
yes,
do
sir.
that.
I
so
will.
That you can say like, and this is a Mexican delicacy.
I will put this on
taco platter.
Our Shelf Life Instagram and Twitter. Hashtag Shelf Life.
Whenever we get that, yeah. Homer gets home after the slideshow has finished, and I do love where they're like, "You missed the whole slideshow, Homer," and he goes, "Oh, fantastic!"
Right,
and just like keeps talking, like
that's good.
Yeah, it's such like a nice. Yeah, of course Homer is glad that he missed that slideshow. He tells the family that he witnessed the robbery, and Homer.
Before Homer tells like his side of the story, the TV is on. Right? Or does he turn the TV on?
No, I think it cuts in. Or he turns the TV on and it cuts in. And Kent Brockman, it's Kent Brockman's stand-in, Scott Christensen. Christian. Because this is when they were doing one of their lame jokes of, it's Kent Brockman, but he was never there. Which, like, he's there later in the episode. So they abandoned it pretty quickly. But Scott Christian, he looks like Ted Koppel. He has that news hair.
Yeah, he does have newsy hair.
News hair.
Mm-hmm.
The news is basically breaking the story about the robbery. And Homer realizes, split second here, he kind of is like, wait a minute, Bart, who is your hero, Krusty the Clown? And Bart says, like, oh yeah, I based my whole life on Krusty's teachings, which is hilarious.
Mm-hmm. It also makes sense, though. Yeah.
Homer does realize, because he kind of says, like, well, maybe you should go to your room. Or
yeah, walk out of the room for a second here.
He knows this is going to hurt Bart.
Right, so he wants to protect him.
Yeah, and that was nice. Like, you get these little moments of Homer being a real father compared to his usual cartoonish self. They show the footage, and this footage is impossible 1990 surveillance footage. It has audio on it.
Oh, it looks great.
It picks up Homer saying that he calls Patty and Selma the gruesome twosome.
Right.
And Patty and Selma are like, oh, so the truth comes out. Like, now they have carte blanche to be even ruder to Homer than they usually are.
Sure. But, I mean, like, this camera looks beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Like it would have been...
It still would look like crap if it was from a real convenience store.
Right. It would be still frame every few seconds.
Yep.
And it would be blurry as hell.
Oh, yeah.
And all that they'd be able to tell is that someone was there.
Yep.
Like, it would be very difficult to actually be able to, like, use as evidence.
Absolutely.
But they use the security footage and they show that Krusty did this, and Bart is devastated because this is his hero. So Marge is trying to console him because this is his hero and he can't believe that he would do something wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
it's the old saying, you should never meet your heroes.
That's right. We here at Shelf Life believe that there are no such thing as heroes. As Dumbledore puts bluntly in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, I've never had much time for heroes. I believe it's personally, I've never had much time for heroes.
I think it is, yeah. Oh my God.
A lesson for us all. No sacred cows, as the Laps fan would say. Because, yeah, never meet your heroes. And Marge tries to console Bart because, I mean, he's a 10-year-old boy. He's upset.
Sure.
And she tells him, like, well, maybe it'll turn out he didn't really do it. Maybe it'll turn out he's innocent. Mm-hmm. And Homer's like, Marge, I was there. It was Krusty the Clown.
Yeah.
And so, again, Homer unwittingly might be steering them wrong by doing what he thinks is right.
Exactly.
And we get that a little bit later, too. We start the second act here. Oh, well, I should mention, Bart decides to go to bed, and there's this nice, like, blue light. Like, it's this, like, it's all in blue, and Bart is just sad, and he's just pulling the Krusty doll pull string, and it just keeps saying, you're my best friend.
Yeah, that's really sad.
Because he feels like he's lost his hero. And
right.
I feel like this is pretty relatable. I feel like at some point, whether you want to look up to someone or not, whether you're as jaded as I can be and be like, don't look up to anyone, or everyone does. Everyone looks up to someone or another. And at some point, someone disappoints you. Whether that be a football player or an actor or a politician or whatever. Family member, whoever. And at some point they disappoint. And it is a very relatable thing to realize someone isn't as high on the pedestal. Yeah.
They're just a human.
And humans are horrible.
Yeah.
So.
That's a good point, too. Quote us on that one.
At some point we'll get to the episode of Community where they debate the nature of man, which is a great episode.
Yeah.
Man is good or is man evil? So the next act starts, and it is a picture of Krusty behind bars. And we get some background on Krusty. They basically do, like, this thing where they go through the history of Krusty the Clown to, like, set up the trial. Mm-hmm. So we get a little of, like, all this background on Krusty. He was an advocate for child literacy. He would always have, like, a book of the month thing for, like, kids to read. He sold pork products, which we don't find out now that he was Jewish, but, like, in the future, that's a good joke looking back at the past, because he's Jewish and he's selling all these pork products.
Right, yes.
And we get one of my favorite moments from The Simpsons ever, which is this Krusty heart attack.
Oh my God. That face.
You might be.
You have to look this up. Oh yeah.
If you haven't been watching along with us, do watch along with us. But you have to look this up. The faces that he makes in this heart attack, which were animated by Brad Bird, he even mentions it, like he wanted to do this piece of animation, are so great.
God, yeah. Just look up Krusty the Clown heart attack, and then somebody actually has it like frame by frame. Each face that he makes. It's ridiculous.
So it turns out that he got a triple bypass and a pacemaker because of this heart attack that he had on air. And then it shows another clip of him working with Sideshow Bob. Sideshow Bob very slowly and deliberately stuffing a pie into Krusty's face.
Right.
But then Krusty just punches him, just knocks him out.
Oh yeah, just like...
in retaliation.
Mm-hmm.
Which he does because clearly he can't take it. He can dish out the punishment, but he can't take the punishment.
Yeah.
was my thought on that.
I think that is exactly what it is.
And then we get this out of character Reverend Lovejoy. And it's a little ridiculous. It's so over the top. Because he's basically doing like this Southern preacher.
Yes.
It's an example of what the kids call cancel culture. Because they're canceling Krusty.
Ah, yes. Absolutely.
And what Lovejoy is calling for all of, if you have items of Krusty the Clown, join me in a public burning!
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
very
kind of how he
over
says
the
it.
top.
It's so not that character.
No.
It's so weird. It's clearly like this, like, supposed to be this, like, Southern preacher kind of talk. It's not really what Reverend Lovejoy is. He's more of like that very, like, almost laid back preacher.
Oh, very
kind
laid
of
back,
thing.
yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which we find out why
Maybe
in
he's
future
just
episodes.
overly excited about this. Maybe he's like, oh my god, I actually get to do something with the town, and he just gets very excited and comes out the old Southern preacher in him.
Yeah. So every once in a while, this kind of like burning stuff happens. I guess this was based off of the Beatles, and it would make sense that the writers would remember from their childhood. The cancel culture from their childhood was preachers saying that the Beatles were evil.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what to answer that.
Well, there was a point in time when they said that they were bigger than Jesus. I don't know the context around that, so it might have been very banal, but at some point that got said. So then, of course, it was, well, you have to burn everything because they said they were bigger than Jesus. I remember as a kid, when the Iraq War started, the Dixie Chicks said that they were kind of ashamed of George Bush or of Texas or something like that. So then, of course, it was, well, we're going to burn all the Dixie Chicks stuff.
I think I remember that one.
That I remember that one happening as a kid. It happens nowadays even easier because now you don't have to just burn something. Now you can just
put it up online.
get rid of it on the streaming service. It's been with us forever. I kind of wonder what got canceled in like the 1800s. Like, what would you have had to have done? I guess it would have had to have been against religion. Like, it would have been
Well,
like the religious
absolutely.
side of things canceling you. I don't know. So anyway, part of
Like, the second you said, I'm not going to church Sunday, they're probably like, oh, burn them at the stake.
well, yeah,
And then you just burn the person and not anything that they've had,
right. Well, or they drown you
That's a
to see
witch
if you-
thing.
to see if you float.
No.
Well,
That's to find a witch.
it's the same thing.
No, it's not. Is it?
No.
If you float, you're a witch. Then I
Was
could.
it if you-
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Is it if you float, you're a witch?
If you float, you're a witch. If you sink, because they tether you with something very heavy, so you'll sink to the bottom. But if you float,
Oh,
you're a
that's right.
witch.
Okay.
And if anybody's watched, I think it's Monty Python, right? And they do ducks float. It's a witch. There's a whole thing to that one. It's great. But
people are fucking stupid. So anyway,
there's a lot of different things they would try to find witches at. But I guess you'd cancel a witch. I guess that's part of it as well. Yeah.
for all of our Wiccan friends out there, you're welcome to be.
Oh,
part of it.
absolutely.
All of our Wiccan friends, all of our religious friends,
Oh, yeah.
everyone has a place at the table.
You're gonna love this stuff. Everybody gets to eat together. It's a witch and a
yeah,
rabbi, I
we'll
guess,
have-
is
yeah.
eating at the table. It's some
So
joke
which
ready to
rabbi are
happen.
listening to a podcast?
A witch and a rabbi are listening to a podcast. It's the start of a joke. We'll never finish
We'll
it.
finish it. Yeah.
It's a Tyrion. It's a Tyrion.
No, we'll finish that on episode. Oh yeah, that'll be our running gag.
A witch and a
25
rabbi.
episodes.
A witch and a rabbi are listening to a podcast.
I don't know how we even fucking got there. So anyway, Krusty is then... So this all peels out because the part of the gag here is that we'll find out tomorrow when his trial begins. So, like, he got arrested immediately, and now he's, like, up for trial. And not only is it trial, but it's like, you robbed the Quickie Mart. Like, it's such, like, it would be, like, a small potatoes trial, but it's, like, the big thing because he's a celebrity.
Right.
You know what else this reminded me of? Which is totally out of context because it happens way after this.
Okay.
And we're very, very separated from it happening. In the 2000s, Winona Ryder was arrested for shoplifting.
Oh, I know this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is clearly not a reference to that because it happened 15 years after this episode aired.
Right.
It was like a big deal. And
they made it like a whole to-do.
She said she was a kleptomaniac, and it was like a joke. Winona Ryder shoplifts. Now she's just the mom from Stranger Things. But like at the time, it was this big joke.
Yes.
I guess it goes to show The Simpsons being ahead of the culture again. In the future, a celebrity robbed, stole something, and it became this big deal. I don't think that Robert
No, she
Downey
didn't do it
Jr.
at gunpoint, but you know.
She didn't do it at gunpoint. That's why I'm like, Robert Downey Jr. was so druggy, but
I don't think he ever did
I
anything
don't
at
think he ever
gunpoint.
robbed.
Probably
I
not.
don't recall. Like, maybe we'll find out when we get
He
to
probably doesn't
Iron
either because he
Man
was
or
probably
something
so
with
strung
Robert
out,
Downey
but...
Jr. No, he definitely doesn't matter. He doesn't remember.
Now
But
he's just on a farm with his alpacas and he's happy, so...
rolling around with millions of dollars. So anyway...
We're never gonna get through this.
It kind of pans out and you see a makeupless Krusty. So you get a makeupless clown.
It's sad. It's sad looking.
So anyway, we see a makeupless Krusty and he's entering the steps of City Hall. And Homer's there, and Bart and Lisa are like, he looks so sad, and Bart's like, and his feet are so small, and he says, like, say it ain't so, Krusty, and Krusty goes, I didn't do it, and everybody laughs because I didn't do it is one of Krusty's catchphrases,
Right.
which Bart takes
Which is
later.
also Bart's, yeah. I didn't do
Yeah,
it.
Bart, I sound like baby Lisa now.
Bart.
Bart reappropriates it for himself because he uses "I didn't do it" in his own everyday language, but then he gets famous off of saying it.
Exactly.
Of course, later on.
Do the Bart man. Do. Sorry.
But
I'm getting tired, so I'm gonna start getting stupid.
that's good. That provides content for our listeners.
Quality
Bart's-
content.
High quality content.
Not high quality, just quality.
Okay, that's fair. The Say It Ain't So Krusty is clearly a reference to Say It Ain't So Joe of the Black Sox fame, which I don't want to get into the whole history of the Black Sox.
Yeah, don't do that.
Probably, because we'll probably do that in a future episode, but it's a reference to shoeless Joe Jackson
Showless.
being accused of rigging the World Series, and the kid asking him, say it ain't so, Joe, and so that's what that's from.
Gotcha.
So in the courtroom...
Krusty the Clown, how do you plead?
I plead guilty, Your Honor. Oh, I mean, not guilty. Opening night jitters, Your Honor.
Krusty is asked if he pleads guilty or not guilty, and he says, I plead guilty, Your Honor. And then he goes, oh, wait. Because, like, the whole... He doesn't understand why, like, everybody goes crazy about that. And he goes, oh, wait, no. I plead not guilty, Your Honor. Sorry, opening night jitters, Your Honor. Like,
Right. He's just nervous.
Homer takes the stand against Bart's wishes. And he tells Bart... Homer is asked by Bart, like, not to do this. But Homer says, I need to do this, and one day you'll understand. So, like, again, he's like...
It's a very moral thing.
It's a very noble thing of, like, I know you don't want me to do this, but you need to do what's right, and this is... It's a very To Kill a Mockingbird moment.
Ooh, it kind of
very
is.
Atticus Finch-y of Homer. Homer, the true greatest hero in fiction. Atticus Finch.
Absolutely.
I'll go on record as saying that.
Atticus
AFI.
Finch, who? It's a horrible line. What's wrong with me? Can't do this. It's happening, Kevin. I'm running low here.
This lawyer that is for the prosecution is clearly based on Clarence Darrow from Inherit the Wind. We'll do as part of our classic Shelf Life series. Of
Oh, I
course.
like that idea.
Yeah.
Classic Shelf Life.
He's got the look of Clarence Darrow. I don't know if he has the look of real life Clarence Darrow or if the fake Clarence Darrow from Inherit the Wind, but the same idea.
Right.
And he asks Homer, who they show the footage of Homer diving into the chips, and they're like, "Sir, is that you diving cowardly into that display of chips?" And he has to tell him that it is. Homer then says, like, "Can you point out the perpetrator in court?" And Homer kind of reluctantly does it because he looks at Bart first, and he's like, he has to do it, so he points to Krusty.
Right.
And you get this, like, moan from Krusty. It's one of my favorite moans of Krusty, where he's like, he's like upset about it.
Would you point him out to us?
Okay.
Oh, man.
Let the record show that the witness eventually pointed to Krusty the Clown.
Back at the Simpson house, Homer is putting everything Krusty related into a box to go to the public burning. And they even say on the commentary that they wanted the Simpsons to live in Springfield in a world where the Springfielders give into mob mentality so easily.
Right.
And we saw it in the Telltale Head, and we see it again here, where they just
Yes.
give into mob mentality right away.
And almost like small town type of vibes. Yes.
Yeah. And maybe it wasn't as bad in 1990, but I think mob mentality has always been a thing. I think social media has made it worse. Mob mentality is...
I think so.
It's such a thing now. Granted, some things deserve to be ridiculed,
Yes.
but there's some things where it's like, okay, where I guess like the whole point is like, okay, where's the line and stuff like that. There are stuff like where it is where there should be a line of what's justice versus what's mob mentality.
Right.
So anyway,
Yeah, there should be kind of like something, but it's hard to describe when it's pretty much an unwritten thing.
right. But I do like the mob mentality, the jokes about mob mentality, and Bart even says it. Dad, you're giving into mob mentality. Homer responds, "No, I'm not. I'm jumping on the bandwagon."
Very similar ideas there.
So Marge says the line, "Who would have thought that a criminal mastermind would have made such cute toys?" Which I wish was a reference to something. I wish there was like an evil toy maker reference.
That'd be great.
But I don't know of one. At least there's nothing that I could like find that would have made sense, other than the Burgermeister, I guess. No, the Burgermeister didn't like toys. Never mind.
No, he hated toys.
Yeah,
He got rid of them.
That was the whole crux of that show.
Until someone gave him a toy, and then he got a little happier about that.
Yeah.
Beetle
He
doo
put
doo
one
diddle
foot-
doo.
Yeah, he put one foot in front of the other.
That's a different one.
That's the
No, that
same
is the
show.
same one. It's oh my god. I've never been a big fan of the claymation ones. Well, I mean, like they're fine, but then you get to the Rudolph, and he makes that damn noise with the
At some
stupid
point, we're
nose,
gonna
and I
do them.
hate it.
You know
I
at
hate
some
the
point
noise though. Ooh, I hate it. Oh, that noise is the worst. I'm sorry. Go on.
The bonfire, and we get Reverend Lovejoy saying like, "Now be careful because these are children's toys, so they are
Extremely
They're-
flammable.
they're extremely flammable. Stand back and try not to inhale the toxic fumes." And you get this crowd that's all like oohing and eyeing over
Right.
the flames.
Because it just went up like quick.
So then Krusty takes the stand. So he's taking the stand in his own defense, which I guess he just figures he's going to be like, I wasn't there. But the problem is he was just at home. And we find out because they're asking him to look at Exhibit B. And he hesitates and he hesitates and he's like, I don't. And they're like, what's the matter? Can't you read? And he says, I can't. I'm illiterate. I've never learned how to read or write.
And isn't the irony of this, like they even say it in the show, is that he advocates for children literacy.
That's right. He's a champion of children's literature, and he can't read or write. So he says, well, this is Exhibit B, because it has a big B on it. And it's betting slips. And he says, is it a crime to be... Well, at first he says, is it a crime to be illiterate? And then he says, well, is it a crime to bet on sports? And they're like, yes. And he's like, oh. So I think what they're getting with here is that the prosecution is trying to establish that his motive, because you're Krusty the Clown, you're like a famous celebrity.
Mm-hmm.
Why were you robbing the Quickie Mart?
Right.
And it's like, I think it's that he was in gambling debt is the idea. So he robbed the Quickie Mart to try to like just make a quick buck, figuring it's not like that big of a crime, or maybe he can get away with it, and he'll just pay back the gambling debt with the money he stole from the Quickie Mart, I guess. So it comes back and they find him guilty. His lawyer admits that this happens every time. It's not Lionel Hutz yet, but it is apparently a bad lawyer.
Right.
So now we get the new Sideshow Bob show. He takes over from Krusty. Oh, Lisa and Maggie are watching Sideshow Bob. And he promises that the show is going to be more educational. Itchy and Scratchy will still be on the show. We get to hear Kelsey Grammer make his debut. And Kelsey Grammer does have a really good voice.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Because you get to find out, like, this character is very intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
And he's very,
well,
you know...
He's an actor.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
You know,
very theatrical.
Yes,
definitely. Not unlike Alan Rickman in Galaxy Quest. Could see him doing the same.
Beautiful.
Thing.
Yes.
And I love that.
Add that to the list.
I love that Bart walks in and he's like, "What the hell are you watching?" He's like so offended that Lisa and Maggie have kind of like turned their back on
Krusty.
But Lisa's like, "Well, He's a criminal mastermind. He's a criminal. Why would I not turn my back on him?"
Right.
Which makes sense. Once you find out someone's an ass, like, why would you stick around? You're not going to stick around. But Bart has that never-ending faith that his hero is really his hero. So he tells Lisa he thinks Krusty's innocent, and he tries to convince her to help him to prove his innocence. She makes him admit that he needs her help because she's smarter than him. And this is again like that building up of Lisa being super smart.
Right.
I did you notice all three of them put their hands in? So Maggie puts her hand in too.
Yep, like Maggie wants to be a part of it too. Yeah. Absolutely. It's very cute.
So Bart and Lisa go to the Quickie Mart to try to investigate, and Apu is super paranoid at this point, and he's like, "I'm armed to the teeth. I can see everything that you're doing." I'd like to think, because in future episodes, what we see of Apu is that he is always like, he's like a gun nut, and he's always got guns, and he's always ready for robberies.
He's very confident and ready.
I like to think that this was like the first robbery
that started it all.
Yeah, so like he becomes.
Well, like he even says, like he goes, "I know the routine because I have the convenience store." Yeah. But like maybe this is like, okay, but maybe I should make myself more armed and ready to go if this happens again, you know.
Or he was taught it.
And so now he's like, let's not, like, I screw this,
like
I'm gonna...
franchise owner, he was taught the procedure.
Right.
But now that he went through it, now he, like, takes it super serious.
He's like, no, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna protect myself and my franchise. The Quickie Mart.
They kind of walk around, and they realize, like, well, the microwave says no pacemakers on it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the surveillance footage, the robber was heating up a burrito. And then they're like, hey, in that convenience footage, the robber was reading a magazine.
Right. And he's illiterate.
Krusty can't read. And Apu shouts something here that has been used in other Simpsons things. I think it might have been used in your Virtual Springfield or Simpsons Hit and Run.
Absolutely.
And it's Apu saying, "This is not a lending library. Get out of here, I'll blow your heads off." That's definitely been used. That's like one of the beautiful. I feel like that's one of Apu's like famous lines.
Yeah, that's one of his probably most famous quotes.
I do like when Bart is like, okay, the guy can't read. Can we like catch the guy a break? Like he doesn't want to keep
hounding him about that. Yeah,
exactly. Lisa kind of starts putting it together like maybe he was framed. So then he's like, does Krusty have any enemies? Mm-hmm. And Bart realizes like, well, he doesn't know. But maybe Sideshow Bob knows, because Sideshow Bob is Krusty's best friend, so maybe he knows if Krusty had any enemies.
Right.
So they realize, like, maybe they have to go talk with Sideshow Bob. So in the meantime, we get a clip of Sideshow Bob doing his show, and he's reading Man in the Iron Mask.
Which has just become, like, Frasier doing a late-night TV show type thing. Just
I was going to say, maybe one day Shelf Life will literally read you the books on our shelf.
Oh,
like Sideshow Bob does here in a like a very Shakespearean brogue. I would guess Kelsey Grammer has done audiobooks.
Oh, I hope so. I would love to just listen to him talk. I like audiobooks, so if he did one, I would listen to it.
You are in luck because you can read The Cat in the Hat, narrated by Kelsey Grammer.
No Dr. Seuss. And not because he's canceled now, just because I never liked Dr. Seuss.
Because I never liked Dr. Seuss in the first place. Julius Caesar. He is one of the voices in a Julius Caesar audiobook.
Interesting.
The Shakespeare
Et tu,
Julius
Brute?
Caesar. I wonder what he plays in that.
Do you think he does only one line, or do you think he does the whole damn thing?
I bet he's Brutus. No, it's like a whole cast of
Et
characters.
tu, Brute? I think he's Caesar.
So, I'm just looking at this on Audible. It's narrated by Richard Dreyfuss, Jo Beth Williams, and Kelsey Grammer.
Interesting.
I kind of want to know what that one is. But anyway.
Then he's got J. Edgar and the Manchurian Candidate.
Yeah, so he's in some audiobooks. But he's
Stupid
reading
Cat
The
in
Man
the
in the
Hat.
Iron Mask. I love the way that he's reading it, too, because he's, like, doing it so vigorously, and the kids love it. So, I think it's hilarious because it's a TV show, and it's just a bunch of kids watching a man read a book.
Yes.
Like, that's all that's happening here.
It's kind
And
of, it's almost, Mr. Rogers-ish.
It is kind of Mr. Rogers-ish. If you go back and look at any clips of Mr. Rogers, it's the most slow-moving thing ever. But yeah, that's true. Well, and the whole idea here, too, is, like, Sideshow Bob is a way better...
He wants to make the kids intellectual instead of just doing stupid jokes for laughs.
Right. He's actually a better source of entertainment for kids.
Right.
Which is just kind of, I guess the crux or the catch-22.
That's the joke.
So, Sideshow Bob even ends the show singing a Colt Porter song every time we say goodbye.
That's a little too much.
You thought that was too much?
I did. I don't know why. It just felt like, okay, calm down. Just because you're, like, the center of attention now.
I like that he has a signature
sign-off
song.
Yeah.
So he goes to the backstage and everyone's like, great show. He's signing autographs and he's like walking back and they're like, and he says something about like, oh yes, and I'll never forget Krusty, and he starts crying. And as he walks into his dressing room, the door closes and we get a pretty sweet animation that like changes to like this, shades of dark, and you get like this shadowy figure, and you get the first Sideshow Bob maniacal laugh, which becomes part of Kelsey Grammer's staple of the character.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Revealed here that Sideshow Bob has framed Krusty the Clown.
I can't do it. I sounded more like
That
Dracula
sounds
for a
like-
second.
Well,
I was veering straight into Dracula. So
in the third act starts with Sideshow Bob's face, because now he's taken over for Krusty.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just they're at the television studio, and Sideshow Bob's meeting with like the producers of the show, and they're talking about different merchandise that they could sell with Sideshow Bob's face on it. And Sideshow Bob basically says he wants to make more high upscale stuff.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to think of what upscale stuff a kid's entertainer, because he's not a clown. But what like upscale stuff is he gonna have?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I mean, I would imagine it's all like the normal stuff, but maybe it's just better materials, made better.
I'm thinking
like
okay,
robes,
like
what?
He's gonna have the toys. Like I'm sure that there'll be a pull string Sideshow Bob,
Right.
and some of that. But like I feel like you're also gonna get like, is it gonna be like a leather book cover?
Ooh,
with, like,
a leather
Sideshow
book
Bob's
cover,
face on
like
it?
a stamped into the. Ooh, I like that. Yeah. That's a good point.
Because I think upscale, I'm thinking like it's not gonna be like a wine glass. You're not gonna get a wine glass from a children's entertainer.
Maybe it's like an art kit, like anything that could help them like better their mind. I feel like Sideshow Bob would want to do instead of just smashing his face onto everything, like Krusty does.
Yeah. But, these are all fine. I heartily endorse this Evador product.
Right.
He's gonna be more selective.
Right.
And he's sitting in his chair with a robe on, no shoes, so he's got his big feet on the table.
Right.
And Bart and Lisa and Maggie are there, and I guess Sideshow Bob just has looser rules because he's trying to connect to the kids. So he just lets them into the backstage. So Sideshow Bobs tells the producers, like, oh, we'll talk about this next time. I take great pleasure in being able to sign my name, which I guess is a shot at Krusty. Because, like, Krusty was illiterate.
Oh,
so
I wonder.
I think that was the
I
joke.
think he is taking a shot at Krusty saying that. Okay. What a jackass.
He doesn't, I mean, he was...
It's just very rude.
He was clearly,
Yeah, he was
by
abused.
Krusty.
You're right. But still, you're taking a shot at a man's literacy. It's just mean.
The guy can't read, okay?
Exactly.
So they tell him, like, they need to talk to him, but he says, like, oh, there's no time. He gives them some tickets to go watch the show, and, like, I'll talk to you later. They are sitting in the audience, and Sideshow Bob has taken over Krusty's catchphrase. He says, who do you love? Sideshow Bob.
Right.
How much do you love me with all our hearts? But he leaves out the last bit.
Right.
And he notices in the stands that Bart didn't sing along. And he realizes that Bart is visibly sad. So he decides he's got his hubris in having to win Bart over.
Yes.
Is what costs him.
Yes, it does.
Because if he wouldn't have brought Bart on stage, Bart wouldn't have put all this together. And Lisa probably would have given up on trying to figure it out.
Right.
So he probably would have gotten away with it. But he sees that Bart is sad. He goes and he invites him to come on stage. And Bart even says, like, I really don't want to come on stage. Like, I'm okay. And he says, like, no, come on stage. It's a new pre-adolescent bit to talk about different things going on with preteens called Choices. And I like that they already had a set built.
Choices.
Like, he already had this idea.
Right. Oh, yeah. It was already in motion. He was waiting for his first child to do this with, apparently.
I do like Sideshow Bob's like, do the kids not accept you? And Bart's like, they don't, but that's not what's bothering me. Like, Bart's very self-aware of just like, yeah, but I don't care about that.
That's here, but
really
neither
is
here nor
bothering
there.
me.
Yeah.
So he's like, well, no, what's really bothering me is my sisters and I have been done some investigating, and we think that Krusty might have been framed. And Sideshow Bob kind of darts his eyes around like, oh, frame. And Bart's like, well, he had the pacemaker.
Right.
And Bob says, well, yeah, but Krusty doesn't always listen to doctor's orders. Like, it's Krusty.
Right.
And Bart's like, yeah, I suppose that's true. He's like, but he was reading a magazine, and he can't read. And Bob points out that he could have enjoyed the Springfield Review of Books because there's funny pictures in it and stuff like that. And he uses specific people, and it's people that, of course, Sideshow Bob would know. I can't remember who it was. It was like Gore Vidal and somebody else. Very highfalutin intellectual minds. And Bart's like, oh, yeah.
Poor Bart.
And then he goes like, look, I understand that people can be upset about how he made us laugh and cry. And Bart goes, and shot you out of a cannon. And you get the really good, like, do you want to try doing it, Rachel?
Is it the...
Yeah.
Is it that one?
That's what I'm getting at, yeah. Yeah. It's like that tone of voice. He doesn't do it, but it's that tone of voice where he goes like, and shot me out of a cannon. Yes, we'll never forget that, will we? But he goes on to say, like, I admit I have some pretty big shoes to fill. Big shoes to fill. Big shoes to fill. Big shoes to fill. And it does that. And Bart puts it all together. And he grabs a mallet because it's a clown show. So there's a mallet sitting around. And well, at first he says, you did it. Bob's like, me. And then Bart grabs the mallet, smashes Bob's clown shoe.
Yep.
At the tip. And Bob goes, ow, you lousy, stupid, clumsy.
Yep.
And it's exactly what Krusty / Sideshow Bob says in the Quickie Mart. And Bart says, like, it couldn't have been Krusty because Krusty has small feet, like all good-hearted people. Implying that everyone with big feet is a bad person, which is true.
Which is weird. Which is true. It's just weird.
Bart, children, this whole sordid affair has been a shock to all of us, but we must get on with our lives. Let's try to remember Krusty not as a hardened criminal, but as that lovable jester who honked his horn and putted around in his little car.
And shot you out of a cannon.
And shot me out of a cannon. Yes, we will never forget that, will we? Bart, open your heart. I admit I have some mighty big shoes to fill. Big
But if you
shoes
give me
to
a
fill.
chance, I promise
Big
you-
shoes to fill. Big 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 shoes to fill. In ancient Greece, there was a school of thought called Stoicism.
Wait a minute. You did it.
Excuse me?
Attention, fellow children. Krusty didn't rob that store. Sideshow Bob framed him, and I got proof.
You lousy, stupid, clumsy!
See that? Krusty wore big floppy shoes, but he's got little feet like all good-hearted people. Sideshow Bob really fills his shoes with thin, ugly feet.
And it's even weirder because, like, his mom has big feet, as has been established.
Oh, this is true. This is very true.
Maybe it's one of those things where not all people with big feet are bad, but all bad people have big feet.
I'm curious now. I'm gonna have to look that one up. Let's do some scientific study on that.
We get our first hint at the incompetence of the Springfield police here when they're watching the show at the police station, and they're like, "Huh, he's right. How did we miss that?" and Chief Wickham is like, "Get over that studio."
Right.
They go and they arrest Sideshow Bob, who admits that he did it because he was sick of playing the buffoon. And again, a really good job by Sideshow Bob.
Oh yeah, it's a good line. Yeah.
Kelsey Grammer. He basically says that he framed Krusty because he was sick of being on the receiving end. He lost so much of the show's profit by gambling and other vulgar appetites.
Yes.
And he was being wasted on the show. So if he was gone, he could make a more educational show. And it's true. And it's almost like if he needed to be given the chance to make a more educational show.
Exactly.
But even if he got that show, no one would have watched it. He needed Krusty gone.
Right, he needed Krusty out of the picture in order to make his look better.
Right.
Because would you rather watch somebody being shot out of a cannon or listen to him read a book?
The cannon.
I mean, exactly.
Well, I mean...
Well, I'd rather for the book, but that's besides the
friends,
point.
our friends and listeners have been listening to us pratter on for at least 12 hours now.
That's because we're gonna shoot Kevin out of a cannon, right, kids?
Yeah, stay tuned to the end of the season, and Rachel will shoot me out of a cannon.
We're doing it now, Kevin. You promised it.
So, Sideshow Bob, while he's being carted off the jail, there's a great piece of animation where his eyes get really dilated, and he's, like, sitting in the back of the paddy wagon. He looks really weird.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy.
And he does the Scooby-Doo line, "I would have gotten away with it if it weren't for those meddling kids." Mm-hmm. And he even says, like, "Treat kids as equals! They were smart enough to get me!"
Yep.
Like, he's still saying his theme.
Right.
But Krusty comes out of the courthouse with squeaky shoes because, again, first season has that Foley work where you hear people stepping, and so Krusty's back in his getup, and you hear him walking down the stairhouse, and Chief Wiggum apologizes to him for that misunderstanding. It won't happen again. Homer apologizes to him because he even kind of tells him, like, I thought I was doing the right thing.
Yeah. He just literally didn't know it wasn't Krusty.
There's a prison joke here, because the old cliche of prison rape
God.
is a bit of a joke here. And they say in the commentary that it was worse, but they cleaned it up.
Wow.
So I don't know what it could have been. Well, because in this version, they just kind of imply it. Like, Homer just says, like, I hope that just the stories that I've heard of prison are greatly exaggerated. Like, that's all he says. So, like, that maybe they were more blunt about it. At least that's the way I interpret the joke. And the way that the commentary team talks about it in the track, that's clearly what they were going for.
Sure.
But Krusty forgives everyone and says, like, if it weren't for this boy for standing up for me, man, he'll never forget it. And that actually turns into a joke. Yes. Because of the fact that he always forgets what Bart did for
Exactly.
him.
Bart always is like yelling to him, "Well, I'm the one who got you out of jail." And
what did you do for me lately? I said Danish, and I'll never forget it. And at the end, the closing scene is Bart is going to sleep, and he's taking up a photo of himself and Krusty on the wall.
Yes.
and his room has
It's
all
full of all the
Krusty
Krusty
merchandise.
stuff.
I assume that Krusty gave him all of it because they burned it. So, like, as
well,
a thank you, he, like,
yeah.
gave him everything.
That's true. They did burn it, didn't they? Because I was, like, trying to think, like, maybe Homer stashed it away or something. But no, they did take it to the burning. So...
It makes sense, because, like, it makes sense for Krusty to have given him everything.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, like, as just a thank you.
Right.
Even if it was just Mrs. Pennyworth or whatever her name is, which we'll learn later, but his assistant or somebody doing it
Oh, yeah.
for him seems like a thing. But a sweet little ending, because Bart gets his hero back. At the end of the day, Bart was right.
Yep.
The faith of the 10-year-old boy, he was good enough to believe in the goodness of one person and investigate further. A lesson for us all. So, Rachel,
Beautiful.
what did you think about Krusty Gets Busted?
Oh, I like this one. That's really all I have to say, because I mean, there's good parts to it. It's funny, it's clever. I really like the acting. Sideshow Bob is great. I like a good mystery, so I think they did a good job of, like, hinting at the 3 points that gets Krusty out of jail and everything. I like it. I think they did a good job.
This is apparently cited as Matt Groening's 9th favorite episode.
Wow, that's really high up there, considering.
Life in the Fast Lane was number 2, apparently. So,
Well,
but I will say, spoiler alert for my rankings at the end. One, this episode has shelf life.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Individually, this episode has shelf life, even without the rest of the season. Even if you don't want to go back and you don't want to watch all of season 1, we'll talk about if there's other episodes that deserve it. But this one for sure deserves it.
Oh yeah,
to
definitely.
me. It is the best animated. It is the best script.
Mm-hmm.
For me, when we get to our rankings, my spoiler alert, this is number 1 for me. This is my favorite episode of the season. I think it's the most solid. It's the funniest. It's the best structured. It's just tight up.
Tight.
I didn't mean it that way.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I don't know if I would rank it 9th all time for me, but it is definitely the best of season 1.
It's great, yeah.
Yeah, so that means we've only got 1 episode left, thank God.
Then
we'll
Kevin will
talk
let me
about
out of
how
this room.
Wait,
no, I have all the editing to do.
You aren't allowed out of the room until we're done.
No!
We've got 1 episode left, and it is a notorious episode. It is Some Enchanted Evening. So when we come back, we will finalize season 1 of The Simpsons.
Okay. Our next guest is the creator of the Life in Hell comics and his animated cartoon special entitled The Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire. Will be on the Fox network next Sunday. Here now, take a look at a clip of that show. Here is what you'll see when you tune it in. Ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to Matt Groening. Nice to see you. How you doing? Good. How are you? I'm all right. So your big holiday special. Are you excited about this?
Yeah. The clip you showed wasn't actually from the special.
Was not from the special.
That's an outtake.
Oh, I'm sorry. But
a blooper.
Things like that in the special.
Things like that.
Is this your first, like it's a half-an-hour show?
Yeah.
First long-form animated cartoon?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then it goes on regularly in January.
Good for you. Oh, it'll be a series then.
A series, yeah.
Matt Groening. We'll be right back, folks. Well, we're almost finished here. Matt, nice meeting you. Good luck with your big cartoon show.
And we have come to the final episode of season 1 of The Simpsons. It has been a long journey for us here at Shelf Life. And it has probably been a long journey for you, dear listener, as you have gone through hours of listening to us talk about it.
Kevin's gonna finally let me out of this room.
Well, I suppose you... I mean, the season, Shelf Life season is not over. You can leave to, like, get some air, but... Yeah.
Damn it.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm okay with that, though.
And she's only allowed to leave once the season is over.
This is true.
So, we can start, because this is the infamous episode of The Simpsons, Some Enchanted Evening.
Which I I never actually called it that.
Well, what do
I
you
still
call
don't
it?
call it that. The Babysitter Bandit.
Oh, the car hole. Yeah, I mean, the Babysitter Bandit would be a better title.
It's a better title. But anyways.
This episode aired on May 13th, 1990. It is written by Matt Groening and Sam Simon, directed by David Silverman and Kent Butterworth. And the reason that this episode is infamous, and we mentioned it in the first episode of ours for The Simpsons, is it was supposed to be the pilot episode. And they sent the animation off to Korea, or the storyboard off to Korea. It came back 6 months later. They did a screening of it, and it was atrocious. The animation was
Just
so
awful.
bad, they were worried that if they aired it, it would immediately tank the show. And Rachel, I don't know, did you look at any of the old animation?
I haven't. I've only seen a couple screenshots of it. I haven't seen like a lot of it, but it looks so
So
janky.
on the DVD, there's extras that show the animation or some of the animation, because they talk. That's like all the commentary's about, is how bad the animation was, and it is bad. It's horrible. It's a totally different style. Like I could see maybe like it's almost Nickelodeon style, or like Ren and Stimpy.
Yeah, it looks like short, simple cartoons. Like very, very simple.
And I don't know if that means that it would
And not like a sitcom.
like and
like
maybe
it
it's just
is.
because we're used to the way The Simpsons look now, that it looks so bad, but it looks really bad. And everything looks, for a lack of a better term, it's like it's very smooth. Everything moves like kind of Disney-ish, where it's like very smooth, but it looks leathery. There's like scenes in this where Marge looks like she has like a frog head, and like her neck like moves like a giraffe. It's like very odd.
Can't picture the matchup of a frog and a giraffe.
Like her
sounds
neck
really
looks
creepy.
like leathery, but like it stretches out. Like that scene where she's
yeah.
putting makeup on, where Lisa's on the bed.
Oh yeah, no, you're right.
It's
And she's
so
like,
weird
yeah.
looking. She looks like a lizard. But the story goes on the commentary. So everything was done minus the animation. 6 months later, they did this screening. So they did a screening in a room where it was some of the writers and Matt Groening and the directors, and the head of the animation studios was there as well. And everyone was shocked, and people started just kind of like leaving the room, and it was like in silence because of how bad it looked. Now, this is their story, and
Yeah.
it's kind of weird to think like it was that bad, but like it is pretty shitty. And he says James L. Brooks was just distraught. So there were only a few people left in the room, the people that, as James L. Brooks put it, were responsible. And he said, "This is shit." And the animators were offended and said, maybe the script isn't funny. Like, maybe it's not good because the script's not funny. So,
Wow,
yeah,
okay.
they did not get off on the right page. Can you imagine if they just decided to part ways and nothing ever happened after that? So they realized it all needed to be redone. And they decided they had to get everything else done, but they had 1 week to come back and see whatever happened with Bart the Genius, because Bart the Genius was the next episode. And Bart the Genius came in, and they thought, okay, it's okay. And because it was okay, they were like, all right, we just need to shove this episode at the end because it's going to take another, 6 months to redo everything. But because Bart the Genius came in okay, they decided to keep going. Otherwise, man, that could have been rough. The other thing that comes up, and another feature on the DVD, is they watch some of the footage again. And it's mostly like Matt Groening laughing and David Silverman laughing. And James L. Brooks actually walks out because he just can't take it. He can't take how bad it looks. It's funny.
Oh, God.
But the thing is, and to defend the animators a little bit, there's no reference point on what The Simpsons is supposed to look like. So they were just guessing.
This was the beginning.
And the shorts are horrible looking. So they needed to come up with something that
Sure.
looked decent and had dynamic look to it and feel to it. So it, they tried their best is my guess, and they clearly got better because they get better as the season goes on. Yeah, that's the infamous story of this episode and why it was supposed to be the first episode, which I don't think it would have worked as the first episode. I'm glad it's not the first episode.
No, I don't think it would have either. As nostalgic as it is, it didn't do the same thing as Simpsons roasting on an open fire did. That one had the characters and development with the characters, and this one doesn't. This one just feels like a short.
Yeah, I
of
agree
The
with
Simpsons.
you. And why do you say it's despite the nostalgia, Rachel?
Oh, well, because
For you
for
personally.
me, like I said, I call it the Babysitter Bandit, and for me personally, I like this one. So, I think it's just because it's probably one of the first ones I ever watched when I was a kid. Is my guess, because I remember it all the time. And I remember the Babysitter Bandit, and I remember it being like, oh, I like this concept. It was goofy, and it was a Bart and Lisa do something together type of thing. And obviously, you and me do stuff all the time. So probably me as a kid, and like it's very nostalgic. It's just very nostalgic.
Well, should we discuss what the final product actually was and get into the episode?
Let's do it.
Get 'em.
Let's get into it.
So and it's weird to keep in mind that this was supposed to be the first episode, but it doesn't for me this is the 13th episode. It never was the first episode.
Right.
The thing about it though, before we get into it, I will say I do think that a lot of the character development and stuff that happens in the rest of the season, this episode doesn't fit. Lisa's not as
not really
smart as you find out she is. Homer doesn't appreciate Marge as much. Marge doesn't have as much agency. There's a lot of stuff that clearly they didn't plan out fully yet. Yeah.
Develop yet. Yeah.
So the chalkboard gag, I will not yell fire in a crowded classroom. And the always.
Good advice.
That's it's illegal. I don't know if it's illegal or not. It's just
I think it is. It's illegal to just start screaming fire, I guess, because if you cause mass hysteria, it's kind of one of those things. I mean, it's another thing if you're being attacked by somebody.
Yeah. If there's a real
help,
fire,
you yell fire because then someone actually looks at you. Well, no, I'm saying they teach women.
This is a women's
if a woman's being attacked.
I'm kidding.
It's anybody's issue, but it's one of those things. If a woman's being attacked or by whatever, yelling help or rape even or something like that, it doesn't catch people's attention like fire does. So you yell fire
because
and
fire
people will actually
affects
react.
Everyone. And if you're just being attacked, they'll be like, well, fuck you.
Kind of. I guess that's the idea. Yeah.
Should have been standing.
You're on your own.
So. Yeah, so the couch gag. You're right. I never said what the couch gag was. The couch gag. Well, because we had good points about Bart being an ass, and I want to see him do everything that he does in the chalk gags. Yeah.
Oh, actually, do it and get in trouble for it, so that... Well, see, now that would have been a concept. He gets in trouble for something in class, right, in one of the episodes, and then, in the next episode or something, that is the chalkboard.
Yeah, there you go. Well, they did that a couple times.
That's a concept.
When we get to those seasons, we'll talk about it, but there are a couple times, in particular when they defamed New Orleans, the next episode had something about New Orleans being.
That's true.
I will not.
You're right.
I will not. It might have even been defamed. I just can't remember. So the couch gag is nothing. The couch gag is the family just runs in and sits on the couch. Hilarious.
Yep. I mean, for the last episode too, it's kind of funny because you're expecting
happens.
something this time, and then nothing happens.
I kind of
like that.
I guess if it was the first, episode and it was supposed to happen,
and then they started to escalate from there. But it's kind of funnier that it ends with nothing happening.
So the episode begins with it's a morning and the family is all eating breakfast. Marge is clearly frazzled, and they're all eating like savages. They're quickly eating everything, and they're fighting over a donut, and which is weird because you think Homer would just take it, but
Yeah,
they're
that's
being
true. That's a
they're
Homer
being the
thing.
typical Simpsons. Well, I mean, it does end up going to Homer because Lisa
That's
and
true,
Bart
yeah.
fight over the box, and the donut ends up on Homer. But then the kids hear the school bus, and they run to the door, and Marge says that she made them lunches, but they just say that they've got money, and they take money out of her purse, and they leave. And then Homer is like, I'm off to work, and that doesn't kiss Marge. And then Marge is left alone, and she says, well, it's just me and you, Maggie. And Maggie has fallen asleep at the table. So Marge is alone, and she's upset about the fact that nobody appreciates her. Again, it's our typical, it's our one story we have for Marge. It's no one appreciates her. The thing that they
Poor
show in the original animation, because apparently 70% at least of this episode was redone, the thing that they show in the original animation is how this scene originally started, and I guess there's a script on the DVD too, which I didn't look at, but it's way more starting with just Marge and Maggie. And Marge is like telling Maggie like this is her favorite time of the morning because it's just the two of them and it's peaceful and they're making breakfast for the family. And then once the other three run in, she like gets kind of despondent because she like takes so much care in like making them breakfast and stuff that they don't appreciate it.
Right. And they're just very chaotic.
It reminds me of an episode of Boy Meets World where the mom in that Rachel, I don't know if you'll remember this one. So the mom keeps making them like a big breakfast, and then none of them stay to eat the breakfast. And then at the end of the episode, Corey learns to appreciate that his mom made breakfast for him.
I kind of remember that, actually.
Do you remember what the inciting incident happens that allows him to learn to appreciate his mom making breakfast for the family?
Is it it's gotta be something with somebody else's mom, because I think it's the whole thing of like appreciate the little things your mom does, right? And is it somebody's
dies.
mom is
It's
dead?
not a
I don't
mom.
remember.
It's not a mom. It's the lunch lady.
I had it. Okay.
Yeah, and
it's
Corey's
the lunch
upset that the
lady
lunch
dies?
lady died and nobody cares, and he's like, but she did all this stuff for everybody. So then he realizes that he should appreciate his mom. We'll get to that episode one day. I'm sure we'll get to Boy Meets World. So anyway, that scene happens, and while that's happening, the radio's on in the background, and we get our first Arnie Pie in the Sky. And he's giving the traffic report. But in between the traffic report is Dr. Marvin Monroe's on-air therapy. So he's, I think this might still be going on. I don't listen to a lot of talk radio. Folks, if you're traveling, you should be listening to Shelf Life.
Yeah, you listen to podcasts. You don't listen to radio.
Yeah, exactly. but
That's right.
I'm sure that there's like self-help radio stuff still. But that's basically what he's doing here. It's like you call in...
Or at least segments.
Yeah, like maybe they'll have like a therapist on for like a segment or something for whatever reason. And you call in and you tell them your issue. So she gets tempted to call in, and she decides to call in, and she tells her problems. She's 34, and she's another underappreciated housewife, is what the assistant, or the screener, writes down. While they're at the plant, or while Homer's at the plant fiddling around with some plutonium or doing something.
Doing whatever he actually does at work.
Obviously, because this is the first episode that was supposed to air, he's not quite the safety inspector yet. So he's just doing stuff. And the guys at work are making fun of the people that are calling in, and Homer calls them wackos, like, turn it up, he wants to hear the wackos on the radio. And she goes through the list with Dr. Marvin Monroe, and of all of the complaints that she has about Homer.
Okay, let's see. Next we have Marge. She's 34 and trapped in a loveless sham of a marriage.
Hey, turn it up. I love hearing those wackos.
Tell me about your husband, Marge.
Well, when we were dating, he was sweeter and more romantic and 40 pounds thinner, and he had hair, and he ate with utensils.
What was that last thing you said?
What was that last thing you
Okay,
said?
that's true.
I got a genuine... I think, what was that last thing you said is pretty funny. That's really...
You get a
that's
genuine
a good
chuckle
joke.
out of that one.
Like, none of it faced Monroe. That and I'm as sure of it as I'm sure my voice is annoying is also very good. Dr. Marvin Monroe gives her some advice and says that Homer's not appreciating her, and when he gets home, she needs to, like, let him have it.
Mm-hmm.
It was during the commentary here where they revealed that Dr. Marvin Monroe, his real name was Marilyn Monroe, and, like, his parents named him Marilyn Monroe, and part of the reason why he became a therapist was because he was named Marilyn Monroe. Yeah, so, like, he feels like he has to, like, pass it on, which is, again, like, it's one of those dumb jokes. They were trying to do so many dumb name jokes back then.
Yeah, but you don't even catch that because it's not like
he never.
they
never reveal that. Well, there's a couple of things that they end up never revealing.
So it's just one of those, like, little hidden things that they, like, keep to themselves, but it's, like, funny to them because it's,
the
like,
character would be
joke.
dead before they ever revealed his name was Marilyn.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, like, no, literally, that is what would happen, is the character would die, and at their funeral, they would be like, Marilyn Marvin Monroe.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, his name is Marilyn?
Yeah, if they would have showed a scene, that's exactly how it would have gone.
That's exactly what it would have happened. Yeah. And that would have been the reveal.
Yeah, and that would have been the joke,
And
it was like, was it worth it? Was it really worth it?
Was it?
I
feel like we're going to be asking them a lot of that question in, like, the latest episodes.
Apparently they've brought back Marvin Monroe in some of the latest episodes, but I don't know. I don't know if we'll get to that.
I think, wasn't there... Okay, hold on. Wasn't there... we're not there yet, obviously, but in a clip show of The Simpsons...
Yeah, that's where they basically reveal that he's died.
Yeah! It's like, oh, we want to, like... And then all the people who have died, and then, like, they're just, like, randoms that they chose. Like, oh, we're never bringing back these characters, so we're gonna kill them off. So, you know, how did they bring them back from the dead? You know what? These aren't canon.
It's two different... They're different shows.
Doesn't matter. Right.
So Homer realizes that this is Marge because well, and Monroe is like, you should leave him, and she goes, leave Homer, and he goes, don't use his real name. So the jig is up. Homer knows it's him, and he's worried.
So does everybody else at the plant.
Somebody that sounds like Lenny was like, hey Homer, isn't that your wife? But it's not quite Lenny yet.
Right. The not quite characters,
And instead, Homer decides to go to the bar to try to stay as far away from home as possible, knowing he's going to get chewed out when he goes home. In the meantime, Bart and Lisa decide to have some fun at Moe's expense.
Oh, come on, Bart, not again. Oh, where's your sense of humor?
Moe's Tavern.
Hello, is Al there?
Al?
Yeah, Al. Last name, Kaholic?
Let me check. Phone call for Al. Alcoholic. Is there an alcoholic here? Wait a minute. Listen, you little yellow belly rat jackass. If I ever find out who you are, I'll kill you.
And it's a classic one. It's alcoholic. Are there any alcoholics here? And there's actually 2 prank calls in this episode. Yeah, there's this one, and then there's another one later. But that's the first one, is alcoholic. These are the kind of names... Hey, these are the kind of names that when me and the guys would make players on Madden, or we would play GoldenEye and have to come up with, like, a name for our players. Alcoholic, yes, like, that would be one of the names. The payoff
that
to
was
all
the
of
best
these
way
with,
to do it.
with the huge ass joke is the best one, I think.
I think so. That one's probably my favorite. World War II is my favorite war. I had to. I said
you
favorite.
Had to,
for some reason it just came out.
So Homer says, like, he's worried because Marge thinks that he's a pig, and this is where we get that weird always giving advice bartender Mo, which is just, it almost seems like that's the character that they were giving him in these early episodes, but he shouldn't be, and he eventually does not become this. But
well, I was gonna say, well, I think it's like he starts off with doing like quote unquote good advice, and then he starts just giving worse and worse advice as his character develops, which is actually kind of interesting to me.
It makes sense because everybody becomes stupider. So his advice should get worse and worse.
Right. Exactly.
And when we find out that he is like the loneliest man alive, he shouldn't know how to like wine and dine. Yeah.
Do anything.
Well, he gives him the advice to, take her out and show her a good time, show her a good night. And which is what he needs to do, of course. The stuff that I got out of this was Mo is uglier than usual because his design is... Because, like, some of this you can tell is probably the old... Yeah, the coloring's off. He's got, like, weird frog lips.
Well, he always kind of looks like a toad. But, I mean, it's a lot more apparent in this one.
But he also tells them, like, we're all pigs. I'm a pig. Bonnie's a pig. His voice isn't quite right either.
That is kind of the voice. You almost had it, like,
and
on.
Apparently,
that's exactly it.
This was not done by... I mean, it is Hank Azaria, but he hasn't quite figured out the voice for him yet. Because apparently, again, another thing that happened in this first episode, it was supposed to be voiced by some other guy. And do you have that name, Rachel? Yeah. So I have no idea who that guy is. But...
No idea. But it says that he was... that it comes up as him being playing Mo.
For whatever reason, this guy didn't work out, and they gave it to Hank. And he comes up with the Mo voice, the "Hey Homer," but at first it's not quite there. And then Homer goes and gets some chocolates, and he goes to the flower store.
No, it does. It says that he did. No, Christopher Collins is Moses Leg's voice in Some Enchanted Evening.
But it still is Hank Azaria, right? I think in the final product, I think he recorded one, and then what we see is Hank.
Okay, wait. Yeah, you go to the cast of Some Enchanted Evening, and it comes up as Hank Azaria. He's the TV host.
Oh, really?
Christopher Collins.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
That's what it says. So maybe
because that voice doesn't sound like any of the ones we normally hear.
Okay. Anyways.
So Homer goes to the flower store, and this animation is putrid. It is disgusting. Homer looks like he's like 3 feet tall at some points. The flower guy is like stretched out. It is awful. He could buy a dozen roses for $55, and he buys one. So, although a single rose, right, Rachel? Isn't that romantic? Getting a single rose? Yeah. So
I would think so. I mean, flowers are flowers,
And back at home, Marge is furious. She's impatient. She's waiting for Homer. There's a weird animation sequence of like all of this like stuff floating around Marge, but she's seething. The score for this season is not good, right? The score in this episode is also bad. That there's all of these horrible noises.
Yeah.
It happens like 5 times where somebody takes a fucking mute in front of a trumpet and just blows.
Whoops. That's just not a good sign.
It has
anyways.
its place. But not here. I don't like it.
Not here. No.
So Homer's in the driveway and he's trying to recite what he's going to say. I love you, Marjorie. And like trying to come up with all this stuff. So then the second he opens the door and he's got the rose, he's got the chocolates, he's covered in rain. It's very romantic looking. And he just tells Marge he loves her and she immediately forgives him. And that's it.
Right, yeah, she kind of melts into that. Yeah, that whole sequence is like, that's over.
I mean, it feels like they needed to find a way to get to them taking a night out. Yeah.
Going on a date? Which is weird because it's
why can't they just
go
on
a date?
But I guess it is supposed to be like Homer's a big doofus. They would never go on a date.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I feel like they would, but just to get away from the kids. Right. The boy.
But yeah, it does seem a little, I don't know.
It's pushed. It's very pushed. Or forced. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It feels very forced for them to have to go through that whole sequence to get to it.
But we get to this point where now they're going to go on a date. Homer has set up the old off-ramp inn. They got a room.
Which is weird. I don't know. That doesn't seem like a fun
they're
date
trying
to
to have a romantic evening away from the kids.
Yeah. Just not my thing.
Is it
fancy restaurant? The night at a hotel.
What if it was like the Ritz? What if it was like a good 4-star?
Oh yeah, if it was like a Hilton or a Ritz or something, sure. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Just to get away, go do something. But as long But if it's like right around the corner, I don't know. That's my only thing.
I don't think.
If I live right around the corner, it's just like, why am I going to a hotel when I can just sleep in my bed?
I think that they went a little ways away. They had to travel on the highway to get there, so it's a little ways.
Yeah.
So they need to get a babysitter, and they need to call up the rubber baby bubby. I knew I was gonna do it. I knew I wasn't gonna be able to say it. Nope.
Rubber baby bubby bunkers. Wait, no. Rubber baby buggy bumpers babysitting service.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers babysitting service. And Rachel, just speed my voice up so it sounds like I did that really well. Yeah.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers.
Yeah, I'm saying buggy
Rubber
bumpers.
baby buggy bumpers.
It's hard to say the buggy part.
I just want to say bunkers.
Well, it's because you're in.
It doesn't make any sense. That's also very true. It's getting a little cold down here. I might need a blanket.
A weighted blanket. Weighted blankets are the way to go, people.
I do.
So
beautiful. Whoops.
They're getting ready to call the babysitting service, but before they can, Bart and Lisa are back to their old ways, and they are pranking Moe again. This time, Oliver clothes off.
A little pre-dinner entertainment.
Moe's Tavern.
Is Oliver there?
Who?
Oliver, clothes off.
Hold on, I'll check. Oliver, clothes off. Call for Oliver, clothes off.
Which is another.
Yeah, I like Oliver. Oliver clothes off's a good one.
It's good.
I think we've signed at some point. Maybe not myself, but my friends have signed things with Oliver clothes off. I'm sure. So I do like when Marge picks it up and Moe's doing his "I'll kill ya" routine, and she's like, huh.
Oh yeah, I'll take this cord and shove it down your throat, type of stuff. It doesn't matter. You put XYZ here. He pretty much says it every time. Some of them are real good. Yeah,
it must be a crossed wire or something, and then they call back. What we learn is that the babysitting service refuses to babysit for the Simpsons anymore because of how bad the kids are. Homer calls back and says, "This is the Simpsons." And the old lady says, like, it's not, did your wife just call? And then he says, like, it's Samson, not Simpson. But she's like, oh, thank God. So, yes, idiot. But he does get away with it. Apparently, and just to highlight this, the old lady is June Foray. Matt Groening makes a point of the fact that they were able to get June Foray because she played Witch Hazel for Looney Tunes. She was Rocky the Squirrel on the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. So for him, he was like, and here's a good one for you, Rachel. She was Grandmother Fa in Mulan. So she's cartoon royalty.
Yeah,
she passed away a few years ago. She was 100 years old. Yeah.
Wow, good for her.
And Matt Groening brings it up because of the fact that, like, for him, it was passing the torch. It was getting somebody to pass the torch to the Simpsons, and that would be Rocky Squirrel passing the torch on to the Simpsons was his thought there. I mean, right. They also, I mean, you got Minnie Mouse and stuff on your show too, but for him, that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a personal deal
for him personally.
For him personally.
So we cut. I know.
You started it. I can't help it. No.
We love it. We love it. We too are. I don't think we haven't had a chance to do any other Red Letter Media beats, but we can always do that one pretty well. There's only a small portion of the audience that understands the last 2 minutes of what we discussed, but you'll all be there one day. So they decide to get ready, and as we discussed before, Marge is putting on her makeup, and Lisa is like on the bed, I don't know, being a little girl kind of, and it's just this weird, like Marge has become a lizard. Like,
yep, this is lizard
horrible.
giraffe Marge, as he was discussing earlier.
But they're talking about how they used to go dancing, and Homer's a good dancer. Cut to Homer shaving, and Bubba.
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 Bubba. Bubba. Bubba. Bubba.
Papa. 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 Papa.
Work that body, Homer.
He's telling Bart
so
that there's not a woman alive who can resist a man who knows how to mambo. Which apparently is another Matt Groening thing, where like he wanted the Simpsons to listen to mambo all the time. I guess that's a thing. Like Matt has such like nostalgia for like the 70s, I feel like. And then because he has nostalgia for like when he was a kid, it's like the 50s.
I think this whole Simpsons is his nostalgia.
Absolutely. Well, and it becomes the writer's nostalgia, and it becomes different showrunners' nostalgia, which is why nowadays you get Homer in the 90s trying to become a rapper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I do like the animation here of Homer shaving. That's a good sequence. Just with the shaving.
Oh, I do love that. The pop.
And it's like perfect, and then it pops back into place. Yep. is really good. That's a really good sequence. I like.
It's a good sequence. I think I might have to put it up higher on my list here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go on.
They're getting ready to leave, and as they're getting ready to leave, we get introduced to Ms. Botts, who is a odd-looking character. Her boobs hang down to the floor.
They have such a sand to them.
I don't know. This character is so bizarre looking. And she's played by Penny Marshall. Penny Marshall, the famed director in Hollywood. I think she passed away recently too. Aww. But I mean, it works in this sense. So they're leaving. She comes in with a couple of suitcases because she's staying overnight. I don't know why she needs 2 suitcases to stay overnight, but
right, it's quite a bit.
And they tell Maggie needs to go to bed now, but Bart and Lisa get to stay up another hour, and they can watch a movie from their video library, and it's the happy little elves meet the curious bear cub. Again, the elves. Bart hates them. Lisa loves them. That would go away. Right. I could see a few years from now Lisa being like, "Why did I ever like the happy little elves?"
Sure. Yeah.
But Bart is like, we don't have to watch this. We don't have to do this. Like, this is just guidance, because he takes advantage of every babysitter. He's so used to it. And Ms. Botts is like, you're going to watch the crappy little elves because everyone always does what I say. And I don't know what happens to kids who don't do what I say because everyone does. Like, it's a really good performance by Penny Marshall. But yeah, Rachel's making faces because it's this weird, it's almost Disney-esque. It's super smooth animation where you see every face. Yeah.
And exaggerated.
Yeah, you see every face.
The eyes, the lip quiver, everything.
But Bart gets intimidated enough that he just backs away and puts the video into the VCR, and they decide to start watching it. While Ms. Botts goes to put Maggie to bed. Bart can't take it for much longer, so he decides to be like, I'm turning it off. So he turns it off, and they turn on America's Most Armed and Dangerous, which is clearly a take on America's Most Wanted, which I think is coming back.
Right.
I think they're bringing that show back. But for the folks at home that may not know America's Most Wanted, give them a little idea of what it was here. It was just a show where, and it was done to profile fugitives in the U.S. and the crimes that they did. So they would do like reenactments and show like the murders or whatever, but they would always end it with like showing a picture of the person. And it was for kids, it was scary. Like, I remember, like, it turned on a few times.
Yeah.
It was scary.
They made it scary.
Because they would, like, play, like, really ominous music in the background, and the host had a good, like, scary voice.
Mm-hmm. Well, like, think Unsolved Mysteries.
It was
That's also
like
creepy.
that,
It's kind of the same idea. It's like, do you have any, like, information,
but it was
this
real.
number?
Like,
Same
these
idea.
were real criminals. And I think that's what made it scary.
Yes. Well, so is the Unsolved Mystery. All of it's real, and it's creepy.
Unsolved
and it's
Mysteries
like,
wasn't
oof.
always real. No.
Yes, they are.
They were like
Yeah, they were.
tabloid stuff.
Yeah, that's the whole point of them. That was the whole point of them, was that they were real, because they weren't able to figure out the case.
I call
this person
shenanigans.
die? Why? Some of them. Hey, you know what? It could be a hoax, but they don't know
Folks
that
at
because they
home,
never solved the
please
mystery.
write in and let us know if Unsolved Mysteries is real or not. I want to win this debate.
He's not gonna win.
So anyway, they decide to watch Armed and Dangerous. On Armed and Dangerous, they do the Babysitter Bandit. And they talk about the notorious Babysitter Bandit, and her real name is Lucille Batsakowski. And she might be using a clever alias, and Lisa kind of figures it out, like, well, bots. And it's a babysitter. So they start to get freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he shows a mugshot, and it's Ms. Bots, and they scream.
Same outfit and everything.
Yeah, same exact
Same
outfit
and everything. Doesn't even
nobody
bother,
changes
like,
their outfit.
changing.
So Ms. Bots comes in with rope, and Bart and Lisa scream, and they try to run out of the room. Bart goes into the basement, and he's going to try to use a bowling ball to knock out Ms. Bots. But it kind of backfires on him, like the shelf falls over, so he gets caught.
Right.
And then Lisa runs into the kitchen to try to call 1-800-USE-SQUEAL, which is the number to call into the show, or to call into the show to say that you have information on Ms. Bots. And as she's doing it, Ms. Bots is pulling the cord, so like and Lisa's like being pulled along with it, so she gets caught too.
Caught.
In the meantime, Homer and Marge are dancing the mambo and going to a fancy dinner, so we get to see a little bit of Homer and Marge dancing. This was another thing where Matt said that he told the animators that they're a little stiff and they haven't danced in a while, but they're in love, and that was the direction he gave. They show the footage of the first time, like the first animation, which was bad, but it's very smooth, so it looks like they know what they're doing. I don't think that the newest version has that much of a difference. He acted like it did, and I couldn't see a lot of difference. Like, they still look like they know what they're doing. They just kind of look awkward because it's Marge and Homer.
Right. Well, I think that's the idea, though. That's I think exactly the instructions he gave. Awkward because Marge and Homer, but they know what they're doing because they like to do it.
And then they go to the old off-ramp in, but they miss the off-ramp. And it's like another 20 miles until the next off-ramp.
How ironic.
but they're having a good evening, so they don't care if they have to drive slightly longer and turn around. But the point is that it's going to take them longer to find out that something's wrong at home because they're in the car still. And in 1990, there was no other way to get a hold of somebody. So it's not like Marge could be texting Lisa. It's not like they had cameras all over the house that she could check in on and see what was going on. This is one of those episodes that would have been impossible to happen in the current year. Because the adults would have cameras on everywhere.
It's also very true. I mean, yeah, I do just for the dogs, so I totally understand that.
So Ms. Bots has tied up Lisa and Bart. Bart keeps on talking, telling her that she won't get away with anything, so she tapes his mouth shut. That's a child being gagged. It's our running theme of the season.
Ooh, it is. Weird. How'd that
Not
camp
to
come
trigger
back
anyone.
up again?
But yeah, she turns the happy little elves on again for them, knowing that it'll drive Bart nuts. But Lisa's kind of like, just shut up and we'll try to make the best of it. While they're doing this, Ms. Bots is like going through the Marge and Homer's room. She's trying to find jewelry or like good stuff or whatever she can steal. And of course she's like, stupid Simpsons, they don't have anything good here. Meanwhile, Homer and Marge make it to the hotel room, and he throws her on the waterbed, which again, I don't like.
I do like this one because it's just like weird.
Yeah.
Like the rubberiness of like everybody.
Like, waterbeds are not a thing anymore. But, like, waterbeds were the strangest thing.
Well,
you think people still have
maybe.
waterbeds?
I bet there's
folks
people
at home,
with
let us know if you've got a waterbed.
But hey, I had a friend who had, her mom had the waterbed, and it was the weirdest thing to, like, sit on. I could not sleep on that.
Like,
There's no
I think
way
apparently
I could sleep on that.
they found out it was, like, bad for people's backs. Like, you'd think it would be good because, like...
Right, because there's no support.
You can, like, mold yourself into it, but apparently it's,
loose.
like, too loose. Like, it's bad for you, I guess. But for every once in a while. I can't imagine doing what Homer and Marge are going to do in the waterbed, but that's just another story for another day that can't be on a brother and sister-led podcast.
This is family-friendly?
Well,
family-friendly.
A brother and sister podcast can't discuss that, but we're gonna have to watch and read and talk about
sex. We're gonna have to discuss sex and a lot of different things. Talk about Game of Thrones, man.
Old Man Logan. Okay, so
welcome in.
If you didn't listen to Old Man Logan podcast, go back. If you want to listen to Hulk incest, the discussion of Hulk incest, please go listen to that episode. So anyway, I do like when when Marge is like, I'm going to go slip into something more comfortable, and Homer goes, oh, the blue thing with the things? I just like his little excitement where he can't really describe it.
Yeah.
And his, when she walks back out is funny. Yeah, some good acting on Homer here. No, well, I mean, like, good acting by Dan Castellaneta. Like, yes, Homer is not acting. Homer
yeah.
Maggie wakes up and gets out of her crib because she's a genius. And she knows she can get away with it because the babysitter's here. So, like, I think Maggie even is bad for babysitters. Like, all three of them are bad for the babysitters. She sees Bots, but she sneaks downstairs. And she sees Bart and Lisa are tied up. But instead of untying Bart and Lisa, she wants to watch the rest of the Happy Little Elves. So she watches the end of it. And Lisa's able to convince her because she's like, Maggie, do you want to watch the Happy Little Elves again? And she nods yes at Lisa, and she's like, well, you gotta come untie me. Again, another part of like Maggie being super smart and super strong, because she's able to untie Lisa. You gotta think that Ms. Botts was pretty good at tying these two up. Yeah.
Like a rope knot, because a rope is hard to tie in the first place. It's thick.
But she unties them, and this is where the kids decide to come up with a plan. Maggie walks by the room that Ms. Botts is ransacking, and she spots her, because Maggie's doing the suck sound, and falling over. One of the things about this episode, it says this in the big book of the family, Maggie falls over 19 times in this episode, which is obnoxious. Yes.
In this episode alone? Holy cow.
Which is, wow.
Oh my god.
That is her shtick at this point, is to fall over.
And yeah.
So Ms. Botts goes to find Maggie because she's going to put her back in her crib. And she walks into a room that she hears the sucking noise, but the light's not on. And she turns the light on, and Bart whacks her over the head with a baseball bat, which is pretty brutal.
Yep.
But she is a criminal. She's on Most Armed and Dangerous. So, and then the kids, because the three of them together are unstoppable, as we learned in the last episode in Krusty Gets Busted, somehow drag Ms. Botts down the stairs, tie her up, and tape her mouth, and put the Happy Little Elves on the TV. So they've got her caught, but they need to get out of the house because Ms. Botts has ripped the phone wire out so that they can call police.
Yes.
And Marge calls the house because she's like, I'm just going to check in on the kids. And Homer's already fallen asleep, so he doesn't care. And there's no answer because of what Ms. Botts did. So now you've got Marge being like, well, we got to go home. There was no answer. And I also like Homer being like, well, I guess my work's done. Like, it's just like so Homer. So the kids call the police at like a payphone, which was a thing at the time. And I don't know if there's still, there's probably still payphones. Like, gotta be somewhere.
There's some still.
Maybe like at a,
I would imagine there's like places.
A train station.
Yeah, train stations, universities. I still think
by
have like somewhere.
By the blue light specials, maybe.
Or you can. We didn't have a nickname for ours. It was just the emergency phone over there.
Yeah, like, same idea. Like, that's probably, like, if they could have found one of those, although I don't know how prevalent they are in different cities. But, so they run to a payphone, and in the meantime...
Which, I mean, if... I know this was supposed to be the first episode and everything. I would have just gone to the Flanders house.
They could have just gone to Ned's.
I literally would have just gone to Ned.
Yeah.
It's not established yet, so I understand that.
Cause that is a good point. Because they would have gotten there way faster, you'd think.
Exactly.
So Homer and Marge beat the kids home, and they find Ms. Botts tied up. So they untie her, and Penny Marshall does a really good job here of being like, please turn the TV off. Like, that's the only thing she says, because she can't take the happy little lives. And, yeah. So
torture.
They help Ms. Botts to her car, and her suitcases are really heavy now.
Mm-hmm.
Homer takes her out to the car, and he gives her triple the money for all the stuff she had to go through because of the kids. And Ms. Botts gives them some advice to watch out for the boy. And Homer wants to tell her, like, a story, but there's sirens are hearing, so she, like, zips away really quickly. And then you see Bart leading the police back, like, we've got her tied up in here. And Homer's like, you know what I just had to do to, like, pay off the babysitter? And there's, like, reporters, and the police are all like, you wait a minute, did you let the babysitter bandit go? And he has to, like, make up a story of, like, it was a struggle, I didn't let her go. And so now he looks like a boob to the entire community, and... Again, yes. He was Bigfoot, and yeah.
And now he's a boob.
So the episode ends with Homer and Marge in bed. He turns off the TV because he laments looking like a boob again, and he says, like, he's just not that bright. But Marge says that he's raised 3 children that are able to capture a wanted criminal by themselves.
It's true.
So that's got to be something.
It's very true.
I believe that here's the line, actually. Let me make sure I got the line.
The way I see it, if you raise 3 children who can knock out and hog-tie a perfect stranger, you must be doing something right.
So that cheers up Homer. They turn the lamp off, and that's the end of the season.
Ba-ba, ba-ba, ba-ba.
Yeah, so that's the end. So a little happy ending there. At least in the eyes of... At least as good as Homer's gonna get. And that is... Oh, one other line that I like from this episode that I found in the book. I gotta bring it up.
No, go ahead.
Homer's trying to pick out a lobster. And he goes, oh, they all look so tasty, but I think I'll eat this one right there. And the maitre d' goes, why don't you pick one that's a little more frisky, sir? Why? Well, when you choose one that's floating upside down... It somewhat defeats the purpose of selecting a live lobster.
Right. That's a good one.
But yeah, that is the end of the season. And that is the end of Some Enchanted Evening. Rachel, what did you think of Some Enchanted Evening?
Well, so I said my thoughts right at the beginning. You know, I have the nostalgia for the show itself, and I do think it has a lot of points that are funny. And even though the animation is horrendous, the music is kind of over the top, everybody has really exaggerated expressions and everything, I still like this one. I like the concept of it, and I like the episode. I think it's fun. It's a nice little short, easy to watch Simpsons episode.
Okay. All right.
I know. We differ on this one.
I do not like this one as well.
I can hear it. I
don't have as much nostalgia. I mean, I can remember us watching it and liking the Babysitter Bandit as kids, and I do think it's a good. I almost want them to redo it or catch the Babysitter Bandit.
If maybe the ones if 10 or 20 years ago, yes. If those writers are redoing it, that would be fun. Having the Babysitter Bandit come back. Absolutely.
But yes, I am not as big a fan of this one. It's a little hard. It's a little rough.
Janky for you.
The other point of fact about this episode, apparently in the original Matt Groening script for it, at the end of the episode, this is where you were going to get Marge with the bunny ears. They took that out. Thank God.
Oh, I'm so glad they did it.
It wouldn't have made any
and
sense.
Creepy and
it
completely
it would have just
ununderstandable.
a nod to Life in Hell by Matt Groening, and that...
And, like, maybe if they gave her, like, a shadow with the ears, okay. But don't actually give her the ears. It would just create her, like, she's like a damn alien or something. It would freak me out.
So the time has come to reveal whether or not The Simpsons Season 1, and if any individual episodes and the entire season have shelf life. And so I'm sure we'll discuss and maybe we'll modify how we do this, but I think what we're at least going to start doing here with TV shows, for seasons we can rank the episodes, because everybody loves a good ranking. But then we'll also say whether or not there are any episodes that individually have shelf life, and if the entire season is shelf-worthy. Yeah, has shelf life.
As a whole.
So I can start with my rankings unless you want to, Rachel. All right, so I'm going to start from the bottom, because...
Oh, boy.
Rankings should work like a countdown, in my opinion, because...
Are we going back and forth, or are we going to just go directly into all of yours? I don't know. I guess you can just tell me yours first, and then I'll tell you mine.
I've got, at number 13, Homer's Odyssey. It's boring.
Okay. I can see that. It's tacky and I hate it.
I'm just not a big fan. At number 12, Bart the Genius. It's also pretty boring. Yeah. It has a couple... It doesn't really have a lot of jokes in it.
It doesn't have a lot that's, like, easily
it just establishes some characters. Yeah.
It's something. It doesn't even do that.
Number 11, I have Homer's Night Out, which nothing really happens in that episode. Okay. There's a few good bits in it. Nothing too memorable. Number 10, Some Enchanted Evening. I like The Babysitter Bandit. Okay. There was some jokes that I did like in it, as we said. But the animation and the score make it kind of rough for me, and some other things. Number 9, No Disgrace Like Home. I think the third act saves that one. Okay. So despite the fact that everyone looks weird, or acts weird in that one,
true.
I do think there's funny stuff in it.
Bits.
Number 8. Yeah, some bits.
Got some
good bits. Number 8, The Crepes of Wrath. I think that there's some funny stuff in that episode, but the way that Bart gets treated kind of pulls it down a bit, because it's just weird. Number 7, Life on the Fast Lane. This, I could probably pull it down even further. I have it here because I do like all of the bowling puns, and Albert Brooks is really funny, but it is just a kind of a uncomfortable episode to watch, even though we do go through a lot of Homer and Marge stuff throughout the series, but not exactly what I would call good. This is weird.
Right, yeah.
So now I would say that's all on one tier. And now on a higher tier, well, wow, you know what, I'll put 2 tiers. I would say Homer's Night Out, Bart the Genius, Homer's Odyssey are on the bottom tier, and then those next 4 are on another tier, and now this is my next tier.
Okay.
Where I have number 6, The Telltale Head. Good stuff from Bart in it. Some memorable stuff. It's kind of an iconic episode, but nothing like too favorite on that one. Number 5, Moaning Lisa. I like the establishment of Lisa as a very intelligent existential character in that one, so that's where I have Moaning Lisa at number 5. Number 4, I have Bart the General. I think that episode is fun. I think that there's a lot of good stuff in it. I like the war with the kids going on. I like Nelson being the bully. I have a lot of fun with that episode, and it's nostalgic for me. Now, the next 3, I believe, all have shelf life on their own.
I agree, because I know which ones you have. Because I was keeping
for number
track.
3, I have Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire. I think it's a very good Christmas special. I think it is rough. It's rough. Don't get me wrong. Everything's rough in this season, but I do think it works as a very good Christmas special. It's sweet. It has a very sweet ending, and Homer's trying to do the best for the family, and him and Bart are trying to like save Christmas. So I like that one. I think it holds up. I think it has shelf life. Number 2, The Call of the Simpsons. This is just a funny episode. It's just fucking funny.
Yeah.
And it is wacky. It's totally wacky. It could fit in any other season, but it has a lot of good jokes and a lot of good bits in it. And my number one is Krusty Gets Busted. I think this fits in future seasons. I think it's an awesome episode, to be honest. It's almost on its own, but it definitely has shelf life. I think you could turn this on, and if you didn't know it was season 1, if somebody else was watching it, they wouldn't necessarily know it was season 1.
Sure. Yeah,
so that's my rankings. Rachel, what do you got?
So I have something similar in a way, okay? So I put Homer's Night Out
I had it at 10.
at number 13. Yeah, so my last, 4 or 5 kind of are interchangeable at this point, so... But for me, Homer's Night Out is just kind of cringy. It's one of those that just makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. Then I have number 12, Bart the Genius. Already said, boring, nothing that sticks out, nothing that makes me laugh in that one. Homer's Odyssey, same thing, just blah. So that's number 11 for me. And then number 10, Life on the Fast Lane. I thought, like you said, it has a little bit more to it, so it kind of has some weird funny points, but at the same time I still feel kind of gross. So that's why it's at the bottom force for me. And then I have There's No Disgrace Like Home. 9. It's fine. It's in the middle, it's it's fine, but at the same time not something that I like a lot. Then I have The Crepes of Wrath. This is where it starts to go into the okay, I'm liking it a little better. But The Grapes of Wrath is still kind of weird. So it's smack dab in the middle. Then I have, for number 7, The Telltale Head. I don't have that feeling. I don't get that feeling for The Telltale Head.
There aren't a lot of jokes in The Telltale Head.
There aren't. And that's kind of why it's kind of... It's fun because of the crap Bart gets up to. But at the same time, I'm kind of it's just there for me.
Fault you for putting it there. I was trying to debate you on it. I was trying to make this interesting and debate you on it, but it's I can't really.
Yeah. Now next I have Bart the General.
Bart the General's your 6.
So it's good. I think it's fun. It's number 6 for me. It's got stuff that I like to quote, and it's fun. It's fun. So now I'm getting into my top guys. I think the top 6 is probably, they're good. They're good. So, yes, you're very good. Number 5, I have as Some Enchanting Evening.
But...
and that's the nostalgia factor for me. Same thing as Bart the General for you. It's the Babysitter Bandit for me. And that's just my childhood. Then I have Moaning Lisa. So I have Moaning Lisa at 4, and I don't know why. I feel like it's a relatable episode in a way. Sometimes you just feel kind of that existential crisis of hating everything. And I like Bleeding Gums Murphy as well, so just having him in there, I like him. He's a sax man. He's great. I like the blues. I like the music. And then, so here's the funny part, Kev.
Yeah,
I have the same top 3.
We only
in
have
the exact same order.
In the bottom 9 that are or 10 that are in the same order, but the top 3 we have the same order.
Right. Yes, absolutely. I really like The Simpsons roasting on open fire, and I think I agree. I think it's a really good Christmas episode. I love that this is how they get Santa's little helper. It tugs at your heartstrings a couple times. It's one of those ideas. And then I do love The Call of the Simpsons. I did put it at number 2, but I love The Call of the Simpsons. It's a little wacky.
You like
it's
Maggie with
so
the
much
bears.
fun. There's crazy things. I love Maggie with the bears. It's cute. And it's just a fun episode. And then number 1, Krusty Gets Busted. 100%. 100%. This is where I feel like this is where their jumping off point into being The Simpsons. Yeah. This is the episode.
That's a good way to put it.
And I think this is where they kind of went, wait, this is what we want the future seasons to be. So that's kind of why it's my number 1.
Well put. And I think between all 3 of those that is kind of like
Yes.
where they realize what they can do is with those 3 episodes, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So what would you say overall about the season? Do you think people can put the box set on their shelf?
You know, for it being season 1 of The Simpsons, which is outrageously long and everything, I would say yes. Now here's my thing though. I'm looking at my list. Half of the season has shelf life, and the other half is kind of like here nor there. I got half the first season of season 1 of The Simpsons on my shelf.
I mean, I own the DVDs.
So it is shelf
it has
worthy.
to be. I mean, granted, again, this is probably I got this for Christmas in the year 2000 or 2001, whatever it was. If it would have been 2001, I can't remember when it came
2001. It's 20. Ooh, okay.
So it's my first DVD. So like I played this thing like crazy. But I will say
I know you did. We watched it a lot.
I haven't watched these episodes in forever. I mean,
oh yeah,
maybe a decade, like maybe since I've been in college. I haven't watched these episodes. If our show does anything for us, I know I'm saying the line, but I actually mean it this time. This is a shoot me saying for me personally, I enjoyed being able to go back and actually watch the episodes with a fine-tooth comb, and maybe I'll say more of it in our last episode of the season, but being able to go through this and think about every little joke and every little thing, for you and me, and hopefully for the listener, one, I hope that you're gaining an appreciation, because like we said, we really are trying to tell the story of everything here for you, but it made me appreciate it a lot, as much as, and I think it's going to make us appreciate shit that we hate, like utter garbage. I think that some of these episodes are garbage. But,
possibly. We'll find out. We'll find out.
But overall, I own the thing, so I do have to say it has shelf life. Now, I'm with you. I truly only think like a few episodes are ones that I would necessarily revisit. But if I'm doing or recommend, if I'm doing a run through of the entire season or the entire series, you're watching the whole damn thing. You're getting the whole thing.
Oh yeah, so, absolutely.
With that being said, there's only 2 ways to get The Simpsons Season 1 on DVD, folks. One is, nowadays, as of this recording, one is the DVD, which I don't think they're making anymore, so you can probably find them somewhere. 2 is Disney+, which our running joke, if you haven't gotten it on Shelf Life yet, is that we're at war with Disney+ because of the fact that they own all of the IP that Rachel and I love. Which is true. They do.
Which then someone would, I mean, obviously you could make the argument, well, then why don't you have it if they own everything that you like?
Well,
there's multiple reasons.
And our reasoning is we just don't, we have a hard time giving in to a group that has that much control over what you love. Now, I will give Disney...
We're kind of rebellious in that
we'll
way.
If not for this show, something else will have us do it. But if you have Disney+, definitely watch the first season of The Simpsons. Or hopefully you watched along with us.
I hope it's on there. I hope the whole thing is on there.
DVD
oh, yeah, absolutely. Watch it along with us.
Those are the ways that you can watch along. And I only bring that up because I will give Disney+ this. Even if there are episodes on there that aren't appropriate for the current year, they still have them up there. So at least I think they do, as of this recording. But I don't really know.
I don't know actually. That might be kind of hard to tell because we don't have it.
We don't. But
I mean, a lot of the stuff, but they don't have everything up there. They might own everything in those like the studios and everything like that, but they don't put everything up on Disney Plus all the time.
Yeah.
So it's hard to tell. They'll never put it up. Maybe they will. That's kind of a.
But that's why we have this show to tell you if it has shelf life. You know, if you think that it has a space on your shelf as well, you might need to find a copy of it so that you can keep it, or at least the episodes that we said have shelf life. Maybe you can buy digital copies or something. Anyway, that was a very long-winded answer by me, so I might have to edit that down because I went on a tangent.
We'll see.
But yes, that has been The Simpsons Season 1. And I'm exhausted. That was exhausting.
So am I. We just did that all in one sitting.
I don't know how we got through
Man.
that. Yes,
I don't
thank
either.
you all for coming. In the words of Apuna Haspima Pedalan, please come again, and we will continue our journey through everything in the zeitgeist of culture here on Shelf Life. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Rachel.
Well, kids, that's our show for today. And now, in the words of Mr. Cole Porter, every time we say goodbye, I die a little. Every time we say goodbye, I wonder why a little. Every time we say goodbye, goodbye.